Hey everybody, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. This is TikTok compilation number 8.
I don't know about the rest of the world, but if this doesn't show you just how rotten and despicable Gypsy Rose Blanchard is, I don't know if there's any helping you. Gypsy Rose Blanchard says she didn't enjoy sex with ex Ryan Scott Anderson, despite once saying that the D is fire. Gypsy Rose Blanchard isn't holding back when it comes to her tumultuous love life. The famed victim, supposed self-proclaimed victim of undiagnosed Munchausen by proxy 33, whose gripping new memoir, My Time to Stand, will be released today, December 10th, has finalized her divorce from her ex, Ryan Scott Anderson, and is currently happily with boyfriend Ken Urker. In an exclusive interview with People this week, she opens up about their sex life and what went on behind closed doors that helped encourage her decision to call it quits. I still struggled when I first came out of prison, Blanchard says, of her sex life, after being released from Missouri's Chillicothe Correctional Facility, where she served 8 years of a 10-year sentence for her part in the murder of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. No, it wasn't her part. She's the one that planned and solicited somebody else. She's the one that's guilty of premeditated first degree. There wasn't just a part. It happened because of her, solely because of her. And underneath the Missouri statute, go look it up. Go look it up. Anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another person. But the fact that she does all of this to him and then still finds a way to turn her all around and make it all about her, while jabbing him and hitting below the belt. At the time, Blanchard took to social media to share how pleased she was with Anderson, a Louisiana special education teacher who she'd wed behind bars in 2022 after she and Urker ended their previous engagement, which was over 4 years prior. That's not even relevant at this time. She and Anderson consummated their marriage shortly after her release. Don't listen to the haters, she commented on one of Anderson's Instagram posts in January, defending him against an onslaught of negative comments he was receiving. Besides, they jealous because you are rocking my world every night, she added. Yeah, I said it. The D is fire. Now, Blanchard shares that she's a liar from those previous statements. What she says now and what really happened, Ryan and my sex life was not ideal. I told him privately. Maybe it was a lack of attraction in that area, or if I still wasn't processing properly. In her new memoir, Blanchard opens up about the horrifying SA she says she suffered as a child, as well as, she claims, with ex Nicholas GODEJOHN. That's bullshit, Gypsy, and you know it. Who's currently serving a life sentence for her mother's murder, but has never been charged in connection with the alleged SA. She also describes instances of experimenting with her sexuality in prison, although she says she was never able to fully enjoy the experiences. According to Blanchard, all of that has changed after reconnecting with Urker. When Ken came into the picture again, you've got to understand there was 7 years of built-up tension there, and it was amazing, she says, of their first sexual encounter. I was able to feel comfortable with him. Though past sexual trauma still haunts her at times, mostly I've gotten past that. There are times that it's kind of like, if I'm uncomfortable, I will voice that. But I'm very open and vocal with Ken about my needs. That's how you know something didn't happen, because if you are one of the many women, men, or children that ever is going to suffer SA in their life, you know, you never just get past that. It's a bliss, she says, has led to her greatest gift. That's how we conceived our baby girl, she says proudly of expecting little Aurora early next year. I had a great first 2 trimesters, amazing, no morning sickness. It was so peaceful, she says. But now that I'm in my 3rd trimester and the 8th month, I can't sleep, I can't breathe, I can't do anything. Still, she's at peace. With her parole ending next year, I'm really excited to just obviously bring her into the world and have a lot of family time together. I'm transitioning to a more private life, but it's going to be a slow transition. But you said you were leaving social media. That means permanently delete. Bye. Oh, but she wants to be on social media when she has to do her contractual legal agreements, like promoting. People also ran this. Gypsy Rose Blanchard ex. Glad saga is over and he won't trade insults. Conducted himself like a gentleman. A lawyer for Ryan Anderson shares an exclusive statement with People amid the finalization of his divorce from Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her recent comments to People. Ryan Scott Anderson said he's relieved to be moving on. Congratulations to you, Ryan, and good for you. A lawyer for the Louisiana school teacher who was married to Gypsy Rose Blanchard, like that's not an accomplishment, dude. For 4 months before she filed for divorce in April 2024, tells People in an exclusive statement that Anderson, 38, is happy to be closing this chapter after finalizing the divorce. Ryan Anderson was aware that the divorce was taking place today. Attorney Randy J. Fierst said in a statement, he's always conducted himself as a gentleman and a good husband. He did not seek this divorce, but is now glad that this saga in his life is over and he looks forward to a healthy new beginning. In an exclusive interview this week, ahead of the release of her highly anticipated memoir, My Time to Stand, Blanchard, 33, shared details of her marriage to Anderson and private issues that arose. Ryan and my sex life was not ideal, I told him privately. Maybe it was a lack of attraction in the area, or if I still wasn't processing properly, she says. Another issue for Blanchard was an intense argument they had. He got in her face and screamed. Friend Nadia Vizier, 23, said exclusively in April to People magazine. Gypsy said that she was afraid he was going to hit her. He didn't, but that happened in the past with her mother. So her first instinct was to tighten up and be prepared. But she got to safety and called her lawyer too. Ryan is a big guy, and she told me it was really scary. Anderson has denied such behavior, previously telling People that he was blindsided by how fast events took place. I've done a lot of reflection and I look back at that argument. We were going through a lot. We just got into an argument and that was it. It turned out that was the last time Gypsy was really here. I've only seen her one time after that, he added. Blanchard, who's now expecting her first child with former fiancé Ken Erker, tells People that though she's realized early on she was just settling in her marriage, she's reached out to Anderson to make amends. I did extend the offer to have a civil conversation for closure purposes, she says. I'm currently awaiting a response. He waived his right to attend the court date. You know that's bullshit because he messaged you and you blocked him. Of Erker, Anderson previously told People in May, honestly, I feel like he was going to pop up at some point. He was going to rear his head in some way. And at some point, we'd have to deal with this. It just happened so fast, Erker said of their relationship at the time. I'm still processing things. He continued, she's in her freedom phase. That's what she wants to do. I do not know that Gypsy Rose does have love for me and vice versa. Being selfish and chasing your heart should never come at the cost and expense of other people. There's a proper way to handle things and do things. And how she did them is exactly how her mother and her father, Dee Dee and Rod, brought her into the world. No different. In fact, her situation is worse because now she's a convicted murderer who's on parole, who attempted to take a life twice before, bringing a child into the world. The only reason why she's even having this baby with Ken is because he denied her and left her and was with somebody else for over 5 years. She psychologically is obsessed with him and is going to trap him, and it's going to come back to bite her in the ass. But worst of all, it's going to have a negative, lifelong effect on that baby. God willing, not the kind of effect she claims and lies to everybody about that her mother had on her.
Rob was with me. The scar that otherwise would have been there if I hadn't asked Nick to kill my mother. People really want to know, what was the final straw? When was the moment when I decided it was her or me? Here you go, y'all, on page 3. 1 month before the murder, my mother tried to cut my throat. At least, that's how I saw it. The cause of concern, suddenly, was my voice. It's so high-pitched. It's so squeaky. My mother complained to my ear, nose, and throat specialist. I thought my voice was distinct, like my uncommon name. Or maybe it was a family trait to be proud of. We both knew women on my mother's side of the family with similar high-pitched voices. Besides, Nick said my childlike chirp was sexy. So, I didn't understand the issue, and I told my mother so. Never in front of the doctors, of course. I knew better than that. But on the way home, I went on and on, like, well, a squeaky wheel. There's nothing wrong with my voice, I said, with a whimper, as she pushed me in my portable wheelchair to the parking lot where our car was parked, outside the hospital in downtown Kansas City. You heard the doctor. That voice of yours might mean there's a problem with your larynx. And that problem could be causing your sleep apnea, she said, her word final. No matter my sassing, we were going to go ahead and meet with the pulmonologist the ENT had just recommended. Though we both knew very well I didn't have sleep apnea.
Reviewing the book. And I'm already noticing a lot of inconsistencies and lies. Okay, she says 1 month before her crime. 1 month. She now cites this exploratory, possible, not even had it been scheduled, possible exploratory surgery as the reasoning why. Do you remember when her husband, Ryan Anderson, now today ex-husband, he said she uses that voice to get what she wants? That's precisely why she didn't want anything to happen to her voice, because acting childlike is how she got what she wanted. That's how she got what she wanted from her mother.
Once we were approved, we finally moved to the Golden Meadow Projects, where I lived until I was 9. Mama knew how to get approved for a lot of things and lived off the system. So I'm not sure if remanding me to a wheelchair was part of the scheme or if it was a symptom of her Munchausen by proxy.
Okay, that's pretty clear. That her entire case surrounded that she had to spend almost 24 years forced in a wheelchair. And she just says she's not even sure if it's due to Munchausen by proxy, which we know is not able to be diagnosed. Her mother is deceased. No psychiatrist or therapist or medical doctor has been able to talk to her. No law enforcement officer has been able to talk to her, let alone can any experts come to a decision or an agreement after having evaluated her whether or not she really has that, or if it was just a ruse, a grift, malingering for Social Security income or Social Security disability income.
Her type 2 diabetes, which was medically documented, required her to take insulin. It wasn't odd for a woman of her size who lived on Pepsi and milk, and who thought having to drink water was a punishment, to have diabetes. She was on pain meds because the fusion she had in her leg after a car accident never fully took, causing her chronic debilitating pain, all paid for by disability and Social Security. With me playing the role of the sick child who required government checks and help from charities and her own compromised health, Mama held me as her shield, her weapon against ever needing her family's assistance again. And she sent Daddy Claude a crystal clear message to that effect.
She just said, me playing the part, me playing the part, me playing the part. There you go, everybody. First of all, I have obtained my own copy right after it was unsealed of the autopsy report. It is available in a video for everybody to see. But you see this last page right here, the toxicology screening that they did. You see how her mother, Dee Dee, was negative for everything, including opiates, even Tylenol, all of it. Negative, 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 negative. Now, she probably did take insulin, which, it's in my own opinion, if you're going to take somebody's life, why not do it using a more painless method, which was readily available? I can't say if that's not how she attempted to take her life the first time in the spring of 2011. But we know she tried again with the BB gun on June 14th of 2011. That's a whole 4 years before this, before she even met Nick online and started talking to him. This is before the whole possible exploratory surgery. So she is lumping something 4 years before with justification for why she committed this crime 4 years later. But this right here, she was getting pain medicine, opiate pain medicine from a pain management doctor or her primary physician. She was probably selling them for money, like most people have for the last 60 years with those kinds of medications. Sell them for money. Medicaid, Medicare covers the prescription costs, if not $1, $4 copay, whatever it may be in whatever state. But she had none of it in her system. If she had been taking opiates and was physically dependent on opiates, there would be some in her system. That tells you she was likely not taking them, and she was selling them. And if she had them available for Gypsy to steal, and she got caught several times taking them, it's likely that Gypsy knew her mom was selling them to somebody. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody you've seen on documentaries.
She kept on persisting on this alternative thing that really didn't seem to pan out in the way that it never was obviously meant to.
That he was offering her for 3 years.
Yep. Since she had warned me that she's tried it twice before, and she's only mentioned one of those times in the media. The other, apparently she almost got close to killing her mother, but however, she couldn't do it. She was attempting to do it mainly for someone that she had an infatuation with.
How do you kill your own mother? I mean, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be some abuse there. You don't just, I'm going to kill my mother because I want to be with a boyfriend.
Yeah, she did. The real reason why she committed her crime and took her mother's life is for sausage. Her dad knows it. Nick knows it. Gypsy knows it. The world knows it. We've been told. Listen, pay attention, comprehend.
And that's when I grabbed the gun and I threatened her with it. And before I knew it, I pulled the trigger as many times as I could. She told people that me and her were robbed in the parking lot of Walmart by this mystery robber that shot her with the BB gun.
When Dee Dee did go in and get medical care, the records show that she lied about it.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard was never charged with the 2 counts of attempted murder because for whatever reason, they completely overlooked that, or when she was offered that plea deal, law enforcement stopped their investigation. However, she's confident enough to tell you about one of those times and make it sound like it was just this innocent thing. And she was so relieved that she found out it was a BB gun and not a real one. The messed up part is that it didn't stop her from attempting before that. And also on that date, June 14th of 2011, and also doing it again 4 years later for a totally different man. And we know that she ran away more than one time, and we know that she has said she willingly went back. But the 2 attempts and the third, which was the actual crime, was not done in a harmless, painless way. And there's one thing she could have done to ensure that, but she wanted her mother to be in pain, and she wanted her mother to feel it. Gypsy was smart enough to Google how to get rid of the smell of decomposition and how to prolong decomposition. She was smart enough to know how insulin works and how to do it pain-free. But she chose
With a nod. Yes, of course. Makes total sense. As a result of my late-stage bottle sucking, I developed the same teeth as SpongeBob SquarePants, and all my remaining teeth were ultimately extracted for a reason I still don't know. For public appearances, like
epilepsy about this time as well, right?
yes, sir.
And so they started giving you Tapitol, and it caused your teeth to crumble.
Yes, sir.
Did you know what was happening at the time?
No, I really didn't. I just didn't understand why my teeth were falling out. I had to have them extracted. I just knew I was losing teeth.
But you know now you didn't have epilepsy.
I know now. And personal information were wrong. So which is it? She didn't know why the dates were wrong, or she changed them to avoid her abusive husband? The blatantly contradicting answers to the same question are so obvious to me as lies. Through my life, yes, she taught me how to be a good liar. A very good liar without any conscience. Pray to God at my personal altar and at Sunday Mass to send me a blessing to make all the ickiness go away. No blessing came. No family members came. My father didn't come. The doctors didn't come. No teacher or principal came. DFS came and left. I was mad at God because I'd ask him in church and before bed and in my head over and over, God, make this tormenting hell stop. Please help. But there was no help in sight. At least, not in my sight.
But you had a
Smashed my
computer.
She took me to a
You
bed.
had a computer. And a
Tinted the
phone.
windows so nobody could see what was going on inside the
So
house.
nobody could see inside.
And put bells on the doors so if I tried to sneak out again, she could hear. I had asked her, I can go to the bathroom. She doesn't chain me, take me to the bathroom, but then chain me back up to the bed. She would starve me. She would hit me with a coat hanger. And she would call me bitch, slut, whore, devil spawn.
You kind of are, though.
For about 2 weeks, that happened. Treated by a doctor for bipolar disorder. I was too small to take note whether the shopping sprees coincided with the mania that she experienced for weeks on end. I couldn't keep up with her during her manic episodes. She'd stay up all night and clean, do the dishes, move the black bags of clothing around and wash the clothes and fold them, only to put them back in the black plastic. When she was depressed, Mom would cover the windows with black garbage bags and stay in bed for weeks at a time. After the DFS visit, the garbage bags became permanent. Get up, get out of bed, I'd say, as I would try to roll her over and off the bed. You can't stay asleep all the time. I'm hungry. She was receiving disability checks for her bipolar disorder, and once a week, a woman who worked for the Social Security office would make visits for therapy. It got to a point where my mother didn't want to talk to her anymore. Tinted the windows so nobody could see what was going on inside the house. And stay in bed for weeks at a time. After the DFS visit, the garbage bags became permanent. Get up, get out of bed, I'd say, as I would try to roll her over and off the bed. You can't stay asleep all the time. I'm hungry. She was receiving disability checks for her bipolar disorder, and once a week, a woman who worked for the Social Security office would make visits for therapy. It got to a point where my mother didn't want to talk to her anymore, so she stopped letting her in. She took Xanax and Ambien to knock herself out, especially after something set her off. And it could be anything. A clerk at the checkout counter was rude to her, someone didn't return her phone call, she saw postings of Chrissy and my dad on Facebook. She'd head straight to bed and wouldn't even get up to eat. When I was much younger, before I understood my life was totally abnormal, these episodes scared me sick. I would frantically figure out how to get food to her. I knew how to make toast, so I'd make a lot of it. Then I graduated to making Pillsbury biscuits in a toaster oven. Even in her despair, she'd set an alarm, and when it went off, she'd give me my medicine and my feeding, because if she didn't, I might begin to see that nothing bad would happen to me. When her bipolar condition was not controlled, she stopped being my mother, which scared the shit out of me. Now I think that maybe she liked seeing me afraid because it showed I loved her. She needed that attention. Was this part of the game? The pulling one over on me? Conning me so I'd care for her and fuss over her? She'd always say I was the only person she had in life. You're my heart, she'd tell me. When we'd take baths together, she'd remind me of how it's me and her against the world forever. One time, I noticed raised red marks on her arm. I remember rubbing my fingers along them, sprinkling bath water over her as if the droplets would magically heal them. As I investigated the marks more closely, the word pain came into view, appearing like a film negative submerged into a basin of developing solution. That looks like it hurts, I said, appalled that she had carved the word pain into her forearm. How recently or long ago, I could not know. It relieves pain, she said. I swallowed my own hurt down, wanting to make her pain go away. So I bandaged her wounds for her, feeling a sense of purpose, when she said, I help you help me, we take care of each other. She threatened to kill herself on many occasions. You know, Gypsy, I might look big like a rhino, but I don't have the skin like one, she'd say. As I grew older, I realized she was guilting me to control me. At first, it was jarring to hear her blurt out, I just want to die, because I was afraid of what would happen to me. We were all each other had, and I wanted to protect our little family. Over time, it became something she'd say when we were having a disagreement, or I was sassing her. On several occasions, I wanted to know why my mother didn't want someone other than me in her life to love her, make her feel special, and generally be her companion. I I began to wish she had someone else, so she would loosen her grip on me, let me go a little. There would be men who asked my mom on a date. Her answer to them was always, my focus is on my daughter. And why do you want me with a man so much, baby? She'd ask me, when I'd see a nice man in the hospital waiting room or at the Ronald McDonald house, and nudge her, as a way to say, go talk to him. I want a daddy, was always my reply. What can you get from a daddy that I can't give you? She'd answer. We both knew it was a rhetorical question. Was she using me as a shield, or was inviting others into our lives going to increase the odds of someone finding us out? The same reason she had kept me out of school and isolated me from her entire family. I would hope that experienced educators would catch on that my IQ was not low, and a school nurse administering albuterol for asthma would realize real quick that my lungs filled up like balloons. Given the opportunity, someone at some point was bound to figure out that I was intelligent, mobile, and older than I thought. So my mother kept the circle small. Behind closed doors, she'd blame her being alone all on me. Your dad left me because of you. When her shadow side came out during her depressive weeks, that blame turned to disdain, and she'd say in her favorite line, there are 8 personalities in my head, and 7 of them don't like you. On those days, I tried to find a place to hide in our small little house, so to not further clutter her mind. But at nighttime, she'd still come for me, so I could lie all night with her 7 hateful personalities. This is your fault, Gypsy. I do everything for you. I've sacrificed everything. And this is how you repay me? The hits kept coming, even as I pretended to sleep, muzzled with a CPAP machine, choking on my mother's contempt. I even got blamed for her sisters not favoring her, which made it hard for me to form a relationship with all her siblings. My mother positioned a wall between me and her family, the Petries, which is one of the reasons I didn't call them for help. Any failures in my mother's life were because of me. Eventually, there was no one else around to blame. We only had temporary friends, no consistent home, always starting over in a new place. She couldn't blame her family, who she estranged us from. And at this point, I had minimal contact with my dad. Her only constant was me.
Okay, hear me out for a second. I know people are going to give me shit for saying this, but just hear me out and listen to what I'm saying. I don't know if this is Gypsy in her own perception, in her own opinion, trying to actually be honest for the first time. But you're going to notice a lot of things are not jiving with things that she has said consistently for the last 9.5 years. And she is slipping up and telling a lot of things that people have theorized or people have found conclusive evidence to show. Like the fact that she had been sucking a bottle for almost 24 years. The fact that that, of course, would rot your baby teeth. Of course, it would rot your adult teeth. Of course, Fancy Maselli and others have always, and I know she's the first person I know of that I can cite, that has always theorized that with Dee Dee's cancer, her diabetes, with her other health issues, that Gypsy was, the roles were starting to be reversed there, where she was starting to be the caregiver. She only knew how to make toast. She only learned how to make biscuits in a toaster oven. She was trying to help her mom. She, of course, lies again about how and why the blacked out windows are there. And so if you really listen, I don't know if this is her really attempting to be truthful, but there's a lot of things that she hasn't really specified or been honest about before, but there's a lot of other new added little details that are just so like, okay, that's crazy. Her talking about her mom having bipolar disorder and all of these things surrounding that. I mean, Gypsy herself is not a psychiatrist or a medical doctor. She's not a nurse. She's not a medical professional. She doesn't have experience in that field whatsoever. So for her to go on and make statements, facts about her mom's behavior and why she did this and why she did that and why she's like, it's all about just abusing her. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. Your mom is not here. So you may get away with defaming somebody because they're deceased, but to me, that is still defaming somebody's memory and legacy and life, because she is not here to speak for herself. And you cannot make those kinds of statements as fact for her. That's egregious. But it's also trying to sell the general public a narrative that jives with your defense strategy that you've been riding on for 9.5 years. And it doesn't make sense, because we know the truth is that Gypsy and Dee Dee, now to a certain extent, to a certain age, yes, any child that is complicit with anything their parent is doing, good or bad, it may be called abuse. I'll give you that. But to a certain age, she was complicit. She was partaking. It is medically documented. It is documented in several other areas other than just her medical records. And so I find that really icky and cringe. And I also find it just absolutely heinous how she talks about God, because God doesn't work that way. He doesn't give you what you want when you want it.
Hey everybody, So this is day 2 after my memoir, My Time to Stand, has been released to bookstores and wherever books are sold. I am so proud to be holding this book right now. And whoever has read it already, I hope that you receive the message. This is not a true crime book. This is a book about survival and hardship and overcoming massive amounts of trauma. To say that this book is just a book is not, it's very, very much misrepresented. This is not a book. This is my entire life in pages. When I started working on this book with Melissa Moore and Michelle Matrosciani, 2 amazing women, amazing writers, I had such a wonderful time working with them, brainstorming, and it's really a talent to be able to bring the emotions of what a trauma survivor has to go through and overcome and push past into words. That is incredibly difficult because no one can know the emotions felt by a victim unless you are in that situation or have been there. And so for us to brainstorm together and kind of figure out how do we want to put this all together, how do we want to framework this, is amazing. And I think we did an amazing job. The things that I talk about in this book are things that I don't get asked in interviews. I don't get asked how scared I was in certain situations. I don't get asked why didn't I just run away? I don't get asked that stuff. And I think even if I told them why, they wouldn't really understand. So it's extremely important to put into words for readers when they are reading my story and when my story is told. The reasons, the emotions, the restrictions put on me and put on victims. So I think that this book is ultimately the thing that I needed to have happened in my life, because I held on to that grief and that pain for so long. And this is a healing book. This is about letting go of my past and finally pushing towards my future. And I hope that if anyone is in my shoes or the shoes that I was in, if they are experiencing trauma, if they are experiencing abuse, that this book will show that there is hope, there is life beyond abuse. I'm not going to say that how I gained my freedom was right, because it wasn't. And I talk about that in the book. You know, I absolutely have a life of regrets. I'm not perfect. I've made really bad choices in my life, but that's what makes me human. And I think that we all have a sense of feeling like maybe we're not worthy of being loved. Maybe we're not worthy of a better life beyond abuse. And that's simply not true. So I really, really, really just hope that the message of this book is conveyed to everyone in the best way possible. And And then I'll choke up. And I just really hope that when you read this, if you are a victim of abuse, you feel like you are not alone. And you are loved. So, to everyone out there that could relate to feeling not worthy, this book is for you.
For a second, and she and I dropped the pretenses. She was talking to a 19-year-old, and we both knew it. I went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror, something Mama told me I should never do on Good Friday. You will see Jesus dying on the cross if you look at yourself. Avoid the mirror on Good Friday, she used to say. She printed a picture of Dan from his Facebook page, and then smashed my laptop and my track phone. She took a mason jar and shoved a picture of me and the picture of Dan into it, with a cow's tongue. The tongue was to represent silencing me. She dropped a piece of toilet paper that had some of my period blood in the jar, and then buried it in the backyard, not far from the shed. I observed her bizarre behavior, like an outsider, detached and confused. She chanted over me something like, "By God, Gypsy Rose will never find true love. Gypsy Rose will never find happiness." All I heard was, Gypsy will never be free. Her spell came true, because the next thing I knew, she made me go back into the house, handcuffed me to a dog leash, and connected the leash to her. "Please, I'm sorry, I'll be good, Mama," was my refrain. She placed bells on the doors and reinforced the black garbage bags taped to every window in the house. I was trapped. If she fell asleep, I couldn't move without waking her up. I was at her mercy for everything. To go to the bathroom.
This is how you know that Gypsy Rose Blanchard is telling you a crock of shit. She attempted to take her mom's life for the first time in the early spring of 2011. Good Friday in 2011 was April 22nd. All of this was supposed to have occurred and taken place, and her mom just suddenly knew who Dan was to find his profile, had a working printer, ink, and paper, printed out a picture of her, which their profile picture was Dee Dee and her. So she just magically got this picture of Gypsy, this picture of Dan, printed it out, boom. It's 2024 and you still have to special order cow tongue anywhere near Springfield, Missouri. See, you have to order it on these stores because they're not available in store. You can get it on the website, and it says pick up today, and I went and looked. You actually can't pick it up. They have to ship it to the store, where then they will email you or send you a link to your telephone number where you have to get it. So this couldn't have all occurred on the same day. Very doubtful, because you can't just go somewhere and find a cow tongue. We have a Sam's Club right here, and this is not something that they typically carry. So she willingly goes back home after giving her mom the stolen cash, over $1,000, probably $2,000 worth of stolen oxycodone, decides to go back because her mom is telling her she's going to be allowed to see him. All of this stuff happens, this all happens, and then she changed her to the bed. Okay, you're telling me that she just had a cow tongue just laying around in the fridge or in the freezer? Fucking lie. Lie, lie, lie. The mother and the daughter that now live in that house, that Habitat for Humanity house, supposedly over 10 months ago, they were told about this story from the prison confessions when it aired on January 5th of 2024. And they went and looked, and there is no jar buried out there. No law enforcement has no jar. This is a completely fabricated story. And what she says here is completely different than what she says in the prison confessions. I could play it for you, but you can feel free to go look it up yourself. Same
Handcuffs and a dog leash.
Same phrase. She tells the same story.
The dog leash was connected to her. So anytime that I would move, she would feel me move. And if she was asleep, I would move, she would wake up. I was at her mercy for everything. So to go to the bathroom, for food. As punishment, she would not feed me. I first met Nick on a Christian dating website in 2012.
2012. So when she attempted to take her mother's life, not once, twice, early spring of 2011, before the Good Friday incident, and before June 14th, 2011, when she attempted to take her mother's life a second time. She hadn't even met Nick yet. And she was determined to end her mother's life. And in a brutal, painful way.
Yep. Since she had warned me that she's tried it twice before, and she's only mentioned one of those times in the media. The other, apparently she almost got close to killing her mother, but however, she couldn't do it. She was attempting to do it mainly for someone that she had an infatuation with. For a fact that she still does love me.
Now that I've grown and matured, I know the difference between love and infatuation. He wants to feel whatever he wants to feel, but I don't love him no more. And she told me if I was to contact anybody, any of her friends, and tell them that she would take a hammer to my fingers next time. And then she put a bell on the door, so if I tried to run away again, she could hear it. And she had taken handcuffs and a dog leash, tied it together, and tied me to the bed, chained me to the bed.
So how long were you tied to the bed?
About 2 weeks. I just don't understand.
Gypsy felt like this was the only way out.
I couldn't go back to her house, especially not after I lied, stole, and ran away. But how can I go with him? I spoke with Dan in a panic. I was sandwiched between two hopeless options. I'll find work in St. Louis, Dan said, trying to reassure me. Then Dan's friend knocked on the bedroom door and leaned against the doorframe. Hey, what's your name? He asked, with a knowing look on his face. Gypsy, I answered, instantly regretful of telling the truth. Your mother's here. It happened so fast, but in slow motion. My brain couldn't quite catch up to what was happening. It was 6 or 7 in the morning, and she had tracked me down, with the help of some convention friends who knew Dan. I stood up from the bed. She looked at my legs with the same disdain she had in the alleyway. Where's the money? Mama asked, eyeballing Dan. Gypsy, talk to me on the porch. I don't know what Dan or his friends were thinking, but like a puppy dog, I followed her to the porch. Our mutual acquaintances that he was a pedophile. I never heard from him again. When we got home, Mama tore through my backpack. Upon seeing the lingerie, she made me take a pregnancy test. You whore, if you're pregnant, she scowled. You're getting...
Gypsy, you really need to stop lying. Because the more you talk, the more you expose your lies. Your mom found the condoms, the lingerie, and the pregnancy test. And she knew that you had had sex. She knew that you were planning on trapping this man without his knowledge, and that's probably why you never heard from him again. Although it never stopped you from trying to find him and reach out to him again. You were not on your period, and you purposely were not on your period. You were in between periods trying to get pregnant by him, and you were not on your period for your mom to then take your menstrual the same day and put it in a mason jar with a cow tongue and a printed out picture. It didn't happen. It's completely fabricated and made up to where you can't even remember it to tell it right. The several different times that you have. Tell the fucking truth for once. Damn.
Hidden behind the couch. That and the painkillers. I don't know if it was my nervous energy, but she was tipped off and went on one of her maniacal searches of the house. She ransacked my bedroom, not exactly knowing what she was looking for, but likely thinking she'd know it when she saw it. I followed her in my wheelchair, crying, "What are you doing? What are you looking for? What did I do?" After she dumped out all of my drawers, she continued to the living room. I slickly maneuvered my wheelchair to block the couch cushion. I was a human compass arrow that led the pirate right to its booty. "Move out of the way," my mother said, her eyes darting. I knew I couldn't deny the evidence. "Can't you just let me leave? Let me go," I pleaded, looking past her to the kitchen table where her favorite talisman, an old-fashioned Chinese dagger, lay. "Not this again, Gypsy. I thought we moved past this." She sounded like I was begging her to let me go to the mall or even to date Dan, who wanted nothing to do with me after she told everyone that he was a pervert and a child molester. "I won't bother you, and you'll never see me again," I said, saying the reverse of what she wanted to hear. Rushing to the kitchen table, I swiped the dagger and grabbed a .22 caliber BB gun she'd picked up at Walmart. I thought if I aimed the gun at her, she'd back off. Out of fear, I pulled the trigger and offloaded 10 BBs at her, creating tiny slits in her flesh. "You shot me!" She backed her way into the bathroom. Double-fisted with weaponry, I followed her until I was wedged in the doorway.
Oh, did you forget?
"Give me my bag. I want to go."
Hospital?
I came at her with the gun, now empty, and just held the dagger up while she sat on the toilet. We were at a standoff. Why can't I be like other kids? The surge of heat released from the top of my head. I could feel my arms quivering and my voice trembling. I didn't know frustration could feel this way, like you want to twist your own head off and throw it at someone. Why do you shave my head? Why can't I be like Aaliyah? Why is my life this way? All the questions. I was mad about Dan, and about the dog leash, and about the cow's tongue. The loneliness, the shame, the period pull-up diapers, the pills that made me drowsy, the surgeries. I wanted a dad. I wanted a friend. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to listen to the Backstreet Boys. "I love you," she said, pressing her fingers against her bleeding flesh wounds. "You are my heart, and I can't live without my heart." And then I asked the question that had been the source of so much frustration. Why can't you let me go? Because I need you. I put the dagger down, but held on to the empty gun. Please stay, she begged. I released all that pent-up anger. I felt relief. Then she didn't hit me or tie me up again. I think she was afraid of me. I think she hadn't realized Baby could be violent. Honey and Baby were equals now. I was scared shitless of her, and she was scared shitless of me. Another dogfight. This time, nose to nose. The whole time, I never got up from the wheelchair. But from here on, Mama and I were speaking different languages. 10.
There you have it, folks. Listen to none other than Gypsy Rose Blanchard herself sit there and tell you a whole bunch more lies. As I continue on with this book, it does not take a genius to know that this shit did not go down the way that she's saying that it went down. If she wanted to leave, she had every right to just leave. If she was ballsy enough to confront her mom and sass her for 5 whole years before she actually unalived her, and attempted to unalive her twice before in 2011, you're going to sit there and tell me that she's actually standing in her way, that there was no other option. Bullshit. She had every motherfucking option. She knew that. She was exercising that. The fact that she got found. I'm not even. First of all, this chapter right here, chapter 10, about meeting Nick in October of 2012, okay? And this one, 11, the movie theater. Complete bullshit. It is nothing but Gypsy Rose hypersexuality. It sounds to me like her mom was trying to protect her from herself. She had already admitted to having sexual relations with somebody on parole that was twice her age, that she did not even really know. Spending the night with that man. Her mother finding all of her contraband and lingerie and all of this stuff. You know that she tried to get pregnant by Dan in 2011. She tried to unalive her mom twice so she can run off with him, thinking he would be off parole and that they'd be free to leave and go to a whole different state. Or that she'd get pregnant by him and her mom would have to accept him. Gypsy, you don't even know this guy, and you're getting pregnant. It's just like you don't even know Ken. No matter how much you can talk to somebody through letter or on the phone or through email, in prison, you do not know that person. Look at, you did that with Ryan, marrying him in 2022. You get out on December 28th of 2023. You're not even with them 40 days, and boom, you're already talking to Ken. The hypersexuality is weird for me. This is not a coming of age story. This is not I was suppressed and I'm finding myself story. This is a story of somebody who has some really weird, overstimulated idea of what sexual relationships really are. This fairy tale, distorted reality version of what having a baby and a family and marriage and all of that is. That's why I say that is giving not adult. Not fully functioning brain-wise adult. Because her mother wouldn't have had to go to these lengths to try and stop her from doing these really dangerous things. Oh my goodness. I cannot, even with this girl, I cannot. The shit that she says about Nick too is egregious, and Gypsy, you know it's a fucking lie. You know it's a lie. You manipulate. We have the text messages. I have all of them. Do not sit here and act like you did not manipulate him. You completely gave him your love and pulled it away. Gave him your love and pulled it away. Gave him love. And he was so confused by that. And you can clearly see that if you've ever taken 30 minutes and read through those text messages and you're self-projecting what you did to him and trying to be the victim. Stop being the fucking victim. Stop being the fucking victim. Stop being the fucking victim. And become the victor of your own story and your own life and just tell the truth. You cannot be set free until you fully come to a place where you are telling the truth and acknowledging it all for what it really is. But oh my goodness, the over sexuality. I'm just going to say this. I have a cousin that is about 6 years older than me. And growing up, my aunt, my uncle, and their 3 kids lived in a house right behind us. We literally grew up with our grandparents right there. My other aunt was down the street, not even 2 blocks. But my aunt had 2 boys and a girl. The girl, who is older than me by several years, she is mentally disabled, meaning she has a CI. She's cognitively impaired, meaning that she's below average IQ. She grew up like that, obsessed with baby dolls, obsessed with teddy bears, obsessed with Disney, obsessed with, and I thought it was really weird at 14, 15, being obsessed with McDonald's kitty toys, being obsessed with fantasy movies, being obsessed with this really weird perception of sex. Like, she was that type growing up, that she always had to have a guardian and caregiver. To this day, she still has a guardian and a caregiver. And the first thing she did, the first chance she got to lock a man down and get pregnant and have a kid, she did that. Now, of course, it's within your civil, constitutional, and basic human rights to have a child, even when you're mentally disabled, and have a cognitive impairment. But is it moral? Is it just? Is it fair to that child? I mean, just seeing how hypersexualized my own cousin was growing up, that was really weird for me, because my parents had to protect me being so much younger from her. But it was also weird to see somebody who's a teenager like my sisters, but yet I'm very little, and I'm relating to her like a 3-year-old, like a 4-year-old, like a 5-year-old. That was just something that I noticed about her, my own cousin, is that she always had that overstimulated, over hypersexualized way of being. But she also had this really weird obsession with boys, with men, with babies, with the whole thing. Like her entire life. And that's why I'm saying this just reminds me of that. This over hypersexualized way of being. And it seems to me like her mom was trying to get her to not control her, but to protect her from herself, to protect her from her own bad, negative, life-altering decision-making that she had going on, like going and getting pregnant by some stranger parolee, or going and getting pregnant by somebody who she never even met in real life. Oh my God, Gypsy, I can't even with you.
I was vulnerable to Nick, the only adult in my life who knew that I could walk. The acting felt natural.
You're first.
Okay, so I'm first. So, I used a baby bottle until I was an adult.
We all have trauma. We listen and we don't judge. I also thought about using my mom's meds to self-medicate. Relatable?
Yeah, very much. Okay.
We listen and we don't judge.
So I also used to steal my mom's pain medication to get high.
Okay. We listen and we don't judge. I also lied to CPS as a child. We listen and we don't judge.
I wrote a book while I was in prison.
We listen and we don't judge. I also ran away to my boyfriend's house when I was young. So we listen and we don't judge.
To find out more, you can purchase my book wherever books are sold.
For those of you who don't know who that is Kale Lowry. On her Instagram page, this is her TikTok, where she is promoting, yes, you have to pay for it. It's $5 for the membership, $55 for a year, on Patreon. This drop right here. It's supposed to be a live that starts in 3 minutes at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. My time to stand with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, clearly. These are the comments that have been streaming on that for the last several hours. Kale, this is not it. Can you please help promote my book? Or do you have any tips on how to get it out there? Thank you. Oh my fucking God. Yikes. This is a hard no for me. Love your stuff, but she was still involved in the killing of her mom. Let me correct you right there, because I'm going to do this every chance I got. She was not involved. She is the sole purpose and reason. What she did under Missouri law, anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another human upon deliberation, that is premeditated first degree murder. That is what that is. First degree premeditated homicide. That is what she did. She wasn't just involved. It happened because of her. Whoever did the act is a semantic that she wants to try and convince you that she was an accessory. No, Nick was her accessory. He was her co-conspirator. It would not have happened without her. So I'm going to correct that. But let's continue. Ew, you hang out with murderers? Kale making her go first. You just lost a follower and a fan. You don't need to cancel Kale Lowry because she is doing her job. So chill the heck out. If it's not hurting your life, then move on. I'm also going to correct that too. Nobody asked her to try to make herself this influencer creator, because all of these D-rate reality stars from 20 years ago, that's what they're trying to all do. She not only is an author herself, but she was lucky enough, like Gypsy, to already have a mainstream network and a TV show behind her to be able to have the promotion and the marketing and the advertisement of a book, have a literary agent, to have ghostwriters do all the work, and an editor. So let's continue on. A murderer I've watched for years, and I cannot support you anymore. She's the lowest of the low. Good luck in your future endeavors. After seeing crime scene photos, I'm definitely judging. And then you can see other ones down here where she's obviously, they're not happy. People are saying, yes, we're definitely judging. They're not happy about what she has done to Ryan Anderson, the things that she has done to other people, the things that she has done to other creators, the things that she has had her friends by proxy do to other creators that cover her. So people, this is what the feeling, this is the vibe that people that pay Kale Lowry for a membership on Patreon, this is the vibe they're giving her. So people are already not happy. Well, we just received this via email. The upcoming drop by Kale Lowry is being rescheduled. Once they choose a new date, you'll see the upcoming drop on their Patreon and will get updated when it goes live. Now, I have a feeling that they're trying to pre-record it and then put it up and not actually do a live, or they're going to cancel it altogether because of what you just witnessed. Now, a lot of people might not know who Kale Lowry is, but she was on Teen Mom 2. And she was also on a spinoff of Teen Mom Young and Pregnant. Gypsy's over here on her Instagram trying to still get people to buy tickets for tomorrow. But going back to Kale Lowry's post on her Instagram, nah, we judge. She murdered her mom. Not good for business. This is so confusing. You literally talk on your other podcast about not liking her anymore. Giving murder is your platform. Not very demure. I am judging. She killed her mother, literally planned her death. She isn't a damn role model. And it just goes on and on. Of course, I posted they canceled tonight and pushed it back because of all the hate she's getting, reporting it to Patreon because people are paying $5 for membership specifically for that, and they're not getting what she's advertising, which is a breach of Patreon's rules. But I'm just going to let you see some of the comments. People are livid. People are saying that this is not passing the vibe check. What kind of vibe did you expect when you have a liar and a convicted murderer who has done nothing but lie because she's a convicted murderer on your platform? What did you expect? She not only used a man who has autism and manipulated him for 3 years to help her. You know what they say, third time's a charm. Gypsy doesn't talk about how she attempted to take her mom's life twice before. In the spring of 2011 and June 14th of 2011. She then manipulates somebody else for 3 years to get him to do it for her. And then tries to throw him under the bus and has done nothing but defame her mom and him for the last 9.5 years. What about the victims? What about what she did to Ryan Anderson? Used him for commissary money for over 2 years to be paroled because he looked good on paper, to be close to her parents, or I should say dad and stepmom. And then after 40 days is already cheating on him with Ken Urker, an old flame from 2018 in her mutual prison pen pal days. Yeah. That's not passing the vibe check, you think? So I go back to the Patreon right here, and this, because it's now 7/12, and we got that email that clearly tells us it has been rescheduled, postponed. I think she's canceling it because she doesn't like the hate that she's getting. But unfortunately, a lot of people are not okay with giving notoriety for profit to a unaliver. And even though every state should have that law, Lifetime should be enforcing it. HBO should be enforcing it. TMZ should be enforcing it. These are all the problem. Bimbella Books should be enforcing it. Everybody should be enforcing it. And making sure that they're not giving that spot, which is clearly just like when she would get Make-A-Wish trips, and that's taken from a sick child, given to a adult who's pretending to be sick. What's terrible is that her book and the promotion and the money and all of it, all the time, the literary agent and the editors and the publisher that they spend on that is that's a spot that is taken from somebody who genuinely deserves to have their book be put out and be promoted. So we still don't know if this is even going to happen or take place or what, but it looks to me like she took it down. So I'm just going to roll this really quick. You know how Gypsy Rose recently said that she wrote this book because if her daughter becomes older and wants to know the story and know the truth, that she's got her actual story in these pages of what really happened and her truth and her life, and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel is going back to an ex-fiance and living off of him and getting pregnant by him to trap him, and then expecting him to take care of you just the same way you expected your mom to do it, then a man to do it, then a husband to do it, now another man to do it, then your dad to do it, or your stepmom to do it. Where's the independence? Where's the remorse? Where's the gratitude? Where's the grace, the class? Oh, because she doesn't have it. She's the type of person who took somebody's life and felt entitled to it.
In all 3 of my holes. So I just sucked on it for him, taking out my dentures to try to ease the gag reflex so I wouldn't vomit in my mouth. He called me names, whore, cunt, bitch. All the while, my...
Hello, everybody. I hope that you're doing well today. Today is December 13th, 2024, and if you don't know, it is Taylor Swift's birthday. It is also Friday the 13th. You know who loves Taylor Swift? Gypsy Rose Blanchard loves Taylor Swift. And if you didn't know, today she is doing a book signing, book release, photo op meet and greet. And this is the only meet and greet that she has ever done for a book. Although this book that she is doing it for came out 3 days ago, it is entitled Gypsy Rose, a memoir, My Time to Stand. This is actually her second book, as she has another called Released, Conversations on the Eve of Freedom. So if you go to her linked tree, you clearly see it says Gypsy Rose Blanchard, public figure, author, social media influencer, advocate, lie, and lie. But you see that she is doing the meet and greet tickets, her My Time to Stand Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Bookshop, My Time to Stand pre-order my audiobook, my Amazon storefront, Released, Conversations on the Eve of Freedom, and Ken's official TikTok. Gypsy, why are you trying to promote Ken's official TikTok? He's had so many different TikToks, and he doesn't even produce any real quality content on there. The same way you haven't the entire duration of you having it. You hardly classify as a content creator or social media influencer. The following you have was only curated after your release, And because of the Lifetime very strategic release of the prison confessions and released the book, as well as Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Life After Lockup. And you know that because you didn't even have 1 million following and no videos. And then you grow to the 10 million that you have. And of course, you've been losing since then. Okay, that was completely curated by your management, your producers, and your networks. Because we certainly know that it is not content that brought people to your social media. The same way he doesn't even have a little over 2,000 followers on this official TikTok. Content is not bringing people there. Now, if Ken went and unalived somebody like a parent, I'm sure that he probably would get following. And book deals and reality TV shows and interviews and, you know, all of that. Released Conversations on the Eve of Freedom. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Melissa Moore, and others. Gypsy Rose Blanchard discovered that her whole life was a lie. After 8.5 years of incarceration, she can finally tell you the truth. With this exclusive collection of interview, transcripts, and journal entries, plus her own illustrations and photos. While incarcerated for her role in her mother's death, Gypsy saw her story told by others again and again in the media, from news reports to podcasts to TV series like The Act. Now granted early parole and preparing to start a new life, she's free to speak directly to her supporters and to the world. Falsely told that she suffers from debilitating chronic illnesses, Gypsy grew up enduring physical and emotional abuse at the hands of her mother, Dee Dee, including unnecessary medications and surgeries. But her desperate attempts to escape a life of isolation laid Gypsy to the grip of another abuser, ultimately resulting in her mother's murder. That is a lie. Gypsy committed first-degree premeditated murder under Missouri statute. Anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another human upon deliberation. And her crime was a special circumstance. It was a heinous crime, a partial decap, and being unalived in the security and safety of your sleep, in your own bed, in your own home behind locked doors, being jabbed 17 times. That is very special circumstance, and that should have awarded her the death penalty, which was originally on the table for Gypsy Rose Blanchard. This is also deeply concerning that she is trying to say that she ran into the grips of another abuser, which is just false. It is false. She sought him out. She picked him. She chose him. She manipulated him for 3 years. And she is the one who carried on with him. The messages and the text in the case file is available. All the evidence is out there. That is why so many people do not believe or agree or support Gypsy Rose Blanchard. A lot of people, more people than not, are anti-crime and are anti-Gypsy creators. And it's just the way it is. Now, there was supposed to be a vigil for Dee Dee Blanchard, and I'm hoping for Nicholas GODEJOHN as well, since his mother were also victims of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. There are a lot of content creators who certainly have been victims of her friend Bree, social justice Brett, the whole adaptive Kate thing. Whatever you want to say about it, those are people that personally targeted creators to try to shut them up and shut them down. Cyber stalked, cyber harassed, doxed, bullied, called law enforcement, the whole 9. Because they used Gypsy's own actions, choices, words, and behaviors to allow other people to conclude their own thoughts, feelings, and opinions on that. So today was very polarizing. Yesterday was very polarizing. I've seen live feeds being done all day, even starting last night. People on this side, people on that side, people that are live streaming, just the line outside versus people that are inside versus people that are absolutely not wanting to touch it at all, because we've known, confirmed, not alleged, confirmed, that Lifetime is filming all of this, and they are also filming what's actually being said and done on YouTube and TikTok, as well as other social medias on this side as filming, because believe it or not, Lifetime does not have to come to you and get your permission to use your content once you publish it. They don't have to ask you. They don't have to get your permission. They don't have to pay you. They can freely take it and use it if they want. And some platforms are different than others, especially when it comes to YouTube. But I'll just say this. I don't support a murderer. I don't support a pathological liar. I don't support somebody who still lives her life using, abusing, abandoning, neglecting, discarding, and disposing of other human beings as if they are below her. I do not support somebody like that. And it is below me, beneath me, to ask for a photo op and a signature of a person who has committed such a heinous crime. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has been curating her own fame and been participating in documentaries. She participated in all of the news media about her. And if you don't believe me, go and look at my videos entitled Gypsy Rose or the Gypsy Rose Agenda. You will see from the day of her arrest to today how Gypsy Rose herself has actively been a participant in the documentaries and the docu-series and the interviews and all the mainstream media that has covered her and her case. The only one that she hasn't played a role in herself or has actually been interviewed for, talking herself, is The Act, which was done by Hulu. So as far as this goes, I'm not touching Gypsy and what she's doing and not doing with this book. She has every right. The book's done. She put it out. She has the right to do a meet and greet. I mean, that's her own thing. I'm not against that. I'm against her probably doing it for her own safety because she's pregnant. But then again, I think that's very strategic so they can say, hey, look, she's actually being bullied or threatened, when it's her and her camp and her friends that are doing the harassment and the cyberbullying and stalking and doxing of content creators they don't like. But you do remember how I just showed you her Amazon storefront? Yeah, that's where Gypsy Rose wants you to have the privilege of buying her $170 Uggs. Not one pair, she wants 3. She wants 4 pairs of sunglasses, Taylor Swift shirts. She wants 1, 2, 3, 4 really ugly fanny packs for whatever reason. She wants 1, 2, 3, 4 white crop top sweaters that are all the same. She wants 9 different self-tanners, only 15 items for her baby, but she wants over 120 for herself, and very expensive items at that. Where is your money, Gypsy? How come you're not spending your own money? You just came out with your second book. This was published December 12th of 2024. Gypsy Rose Blanchard speaks about her ex-cellmate playing with her own poop as if it was Play-Doh. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is revealing new details about her life in her new memoir, My Time to Stand. The book details the painful abuse she suffered at the hands of her mom, discusses the night her mom was killed, and offers insight on Blanchard's time in prison. According to People, Blanchard writes in her book about how years in prison nearly cost her sanity. She said her various cellmates had strange tics of their own. One howled at the moon, one talked to the wall, and one would hit her own head against the wall while cursing to herself. But one cellmate took the cake for being the strangest, the one who Blanchard said liked to play with her own feces. So pretty much all day long, I was forced to watch my naked roommate delight in her excrement as if it was Play-Doh, y'all, Blanchard writes in her book. Of course, all of this, we know that she's expecting her first child with her boyfriend and da-da-da. But let's take it back to June 17th of 2015. Poking around the house, the wheelchair, all a scam? The story was originally published on June 16th of 2015. What an incredible and sad story. And now I'm wondering, perhaps, like you, how much of Gypsy Rose Blanchard's life has been a charade. It appears, thanks to the reporting of colleague Harrison Keegan, that Gypsy's mother, years ago, possibly Gypsy's whole life, concocted a scam to flim-flam the good-hearted. To neighbors and friends, Gypsy had apparently been confined to a wheelchair for years. But we learned Tuesday that's a hoax. Things are not always as they appear. Sheriff Jim Arnott said at a press concert. She was walking just fine, even when carrying her luggage. Investigators say Gypsy was captured walking on her own 2 feet on surveillance video at several businesses after her mother was slain. Gypsy and boyfriend Nicholas P. GODEJOHN, 26, of Big Bend, Wisconsin, have been charged with murdering Claudinia D.D. Blanchard, whose body was found Sunday night. Mom and daughter have told their story for years. They came to Missouri as Hurricane Katrina survivors. Is that even true? They definitely lived in Louisiana before moving to Aurora and then Springfield. That is true, according to public records. But it appears to me, in hindsight of this week, that years ago they scammed an organization called the Children's Wish Endowment, located in Slidell, Louisiana, where they lived in 2003. According to a December 21, 2003, story in the Times Picayune, Dee Dee and Gypsy were guests at a Christmas feast sponsored by the organization. Gypsy, then 11, is quoted as saying the organization had already granted her wish or wishes. She says she went to Walt Disney World and that she swam with dolphins at the Discovery Cove in Florida. In the same story, Dee Dee says her daughter has a neuromuscular disease and other medical problems. In a June 2009 magazine, Dee Dee explains why she no longer had copies of her daughter's medical records. The story was in Treasures, published for supporters of Children's Mercy Hospital and clinics in the Kansas City area. It states, Dee Dee knew it wouldn't be easy to explain the last 14 years of her daughter's medical history to specialists, since all of Gypsy Rose's medical records were lost. They were lost because of Katrina, Dee Dee said. Interestingly, the story focuses on Dee Dee and Gypsy reuniting with Dr. Robert Beckerman, who in 2009 was the medical director of the Comprehensive Sleep Disorder Center and chief of the pulmonary section at Children's Mercy. The story states that Beckerman had worked in New Orleans prior to coming to Kansas City and treated Gypsy in New Orleans for 10 years. The story does not explain what Beckerman treated her for in New Orleans. A hospital spokesman said Tuesday the doctor and hospital could not comment due to patient confidentiality restrictions. Beckerman says, this is the story. Dee Dee is such a great advocate for her child. Having a child with special needs is not easy, especially going through what they went through. After Katrina, the medical care regressed dramatically in New Orleans. Gypsy Rose is right where she needs to be, getting state-of-the-art care. In 2008, Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose moved to a Habitat for Humanity house just north of Springfield. It's the house where Dee Dee was found slain. Reporter Dee Dee Tong wrote a story for the News Leader about what was then an auspicious occasion, a day of blessing. It is painful to read that story today. Gypsy Rose, whose age was given as 13, is described as sitting in a wheelchair wearing a pair of furry poo slippers. It's accessible to many, she says, of the new house. The 3-bedroom house has a ramp for her wheelchair. The doors are wider than normal to accommodate her wheelchair. The light switches were built lower to the floor so she could reach them. The bathroom has a big bathtub so Dee Dee can help her wheelchair-bound daughter bathe. So, this was all unnecessary. This was all part of the scam. I can't help but to wonder, did Gypsy ever use her wheelchair when she and her mother were alone in the house? And then Gypsy talks about the trials and tribulations she and her mother had overcome. A lot of people started to give up, she says, but my mom stayed with me. She never left me. We are a pair of shoes, never good without the other. She turns to her mother and says, Mom, I love you. We made it. Remember, this article originally ran on June 16th of 2015. That is the closest in time to when this happened. And they knew that Gypsy had been not using the wheelchair behind closed doors and that she was scamming with everybody.
And volunteer way.
I remember my mom had gave me this little glass house and she said, one day this will be real. And now it finally is.
The Blanchards moved into that house, built by Habitat for Humanity. A wheelchair ramp was built just for her.
She was like one of the happiest people I had ever met, and yet she was the most sick that I had ever met at the same time.
In between hospital stays, Gypsy frequently jet sets across the country. Ball games, galas, the most magical place on earth, Disney World.
Make-A-Wish, we're taking her down to Orlando, all expenses paid and everything.
Right now, I'm in Cinderella's castle eating some royal mashed potatoes.
She even got to meet country superstars Miranda Lambert and then-husband Blake Shelton.
Miranda Lambert came to Springfield a few times, and I think she gave Dee Dee and Gypsy money.
Yes, and volunteer way.
I remember my mom had gave me this little glass house and she said, one day this will be real. And now it finally is.
The Blanchards moved into that house, built by Habitat for Humanity. A wheelchair ramp was built just for her.
She was like one of the happiest people I had ever met, and yet she was the most sick that I had ever met at the same time.
In between hospital stays, Gypsy frequently jet sets across the country. Ball games, galas, the most magical place on earth, Disney World.
Make-A-Wish, we're taking her down to Orlando. All expenses paid and everything.
Right now, I'm in Cinderella's castle eating some royal mashed potatoes.
She even got to meet country superstars Miranda Lambert and then husband Blake Shelton.
Miranda Lambert came to Springfield a few times, and I think she gave Dee Dee and Gypsy money.
Yes, she did. Look at this $3,500 check from the singer's personal account. But that wasn't all.
What must I do?
Check her out posing with her favorite actors, Elijah Wood and Sean Astin from Lord of the Rings.
Go! Frodo! Go on, Frodo!
It sounds like a really awesome life.
This poor woman had done nothing but give her life for her child and had done nothing but love everybody around her.
Ryan, but I do regret getting married in prison so fast.
8 months after calling it quits, Gypsy Rose Blanchard has reached a settlement in her divorce from Ryan Anderson.
It's difficult because we're happy, you know, and it's one of those where, like, I thought we were happy too.
According to TMZ, the 33-year-old and her ex-husband agreed on no spousal support, but the division of community property is still on the table. The outlet, however, says a judge hasn't signed off on the settlement yet.
I'm accepting things. Wasn't my choice, but I mean, you have to dust yourself off.
Gypsy filed for divorce from Ryan in April, nearly 2 years after the pair tied the knot in a prison ceremony while she was serving time for the second-degree murder of her mother, Dee Dee.
It was just something that I had to learn on my own. I had to come out and live with a partner that I had known for 3 years. As, you know, we went through ups and downs in our relationships, but actually living with someone is so much different.
The divorce settlement comes as Gypsy's expecting her first child with boyfriend Ken Urker. The pair rekindling their romance after her split from Ryan.
Ken and I have always remained friends, even after our breakup in 2019, when my marriage was over and I walked away. That's when Ken and I was developing a reconnection and starting to find that, okay, back in 2019 and 2017, it wasn't the right time for us. But now that I'm free, we're able to reconnect and see if that right time is now.
And is it?
It is. Everything's going really good with us. So.
You know, I would confront Gypsy and she would always be like, I'm not talking to him, you know, so.
And you think she was? You think she was lying?
In hindsight, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, like now the split has happened. I mean, you find out certain things. So, you know, at the time I didn't believe it. You know, she wasn't talking, you know, to him, but it is what it is. I'm blindsided about how fast the process went. It was just shocking how fast it went from this to that to now I'm with Ken and I'm in love with him.
Gypsy announced she and Ken were having a baby on her YouTube channel back in July.
We're both very excited. This was not planned at all. It was completely unexpected, but we're both very excited to take on this new journey of parenthood.
The parents-to-be are expected to welcome a baby girl in January.
All that matters is making sure that I'm healthy, the baby's healthy, my relationship with Ken is healthy, and we are moving forward in a positive way.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard settles her divorce with Ryan Anderson. Sources tell TMZ that the judge has officially signed the divorce papers, meaning they both can get their copies now. But she would have known that the day she went into court. What is said by the judge that day when he orders the judgment is that he's granting the divorce, it's done. But a lot of times judges don't sign the paper and give you a copy. It can take weeks sometimes to get your copy. However, it's done. It was done and finalized the day she went into court, and that's what the hearing was for. But it is now completely settled because the judge has signed off on the paperwork. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is finally putting her first marriage behind her. It looks like both she and Ryan Anderson have reached a settlement in their divorce. According to a court clerk, a judge hadn't yet signed off on it. That's typically how it goes. Ryan's lawyer, Jeffrey Carrier, tells TMZ his client skipped the court appearance to save on those pricey attorney fees. And why would he? She's pregnant by somebody else. He wasn't going to contest it. You know, the whole situation is incredibly sad because she is bringing a baby into the world, and she uses that baby as a crutch, as an excuse, as her saving grace. It's the same way her mom did with Gypsy. And the fact that she's bringing a baby into the world, not in the same exact way that Dee Dee and Rod brought her into the world, in a worse way. Her mom may have had some petty little shit in her criminal history or in her past, but she didn't take somebody's life, and Gypsy did. And the fact that she's able to capitalize and monetize her crime is beyond disgusting to many people out here in the real world who can see her words, choices, actions, and behaviors for exactly what they really are. Jeffrey explained to us that Ryan and Gypsy had been living apart for 6 months, so they went ahead with a new cause of action and wrapped up with uncontested divorce. That sped things up, letting them finalize it before the original January 2025 date. And the reason why she did the DNA test, it wasn't for closure for Ryan. It was for the court. And I've been telling everybody that from the beginning. She didn't want Ryan to contest anything in court, and she wanted to be able to show the judge, look, I did this test. It's not my husband. He knows that. I know that. Ken knows that. I want to get this done and over with, and I want to get this divorce finalized because she could have the baby anytime from now until her due date. And that child, I believe that Gypsy Rose has been plotting and planning to marry Ken. I think she wants to give birth. The Lifetime cameras are there documenting her giving birth to her first child. I think that she's trying to do a wedding special with Lifetime for more money. And if Ken goes ahead with it, that's just going to be even more obvious to everybody that he's only come back when there's cameras and money and attention and what he feels is fame, because he abandoned her. He left her. He dumped her in 2018, and he was with another woman for 5.5 years. And it's just absolutely crazy to me that he only shows back up when the cameras and the attention and the fame and her release and her book and her docuseries and then the reality show comes out. All of a sudden, Ken wants back in. That's despicable. The exes already agreed on no spousal support, but the division of community property is still on the table. It was a quick marriage, but these are some contracts still hanging in the balance. What? Pixie? What community property? The division of $15,000 that's sitting in a bank account? No, Ryan doesn't make enough money to have spousal support taken from him, and they were not married long enough for that to have occurred. Gypsy doesn't make enough money to pay spousal support. From my understanding, they weren't together long enough for either of them to ask for spousal support from each other. But as far as community property, an apartment or a dog, both of which she had no interest in whatsoever. So I don't see how, what division of what community property. She took her stuff and she left and she went to her dad's house. But it says here, this update comes 8 months after Gypsy Rose filed for divorce from Ryan, who she married in July of 2022 when she was still incarcerated for the role she played in Mother Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard's murder. I wish you mainstream media and news outlets would stop letting them and her manager and all of her sources tell you for the role she played. The role she played was first-degree premeditated murder. Missouri statute for homicide, first-degree premeditated homicide, is anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another person upon deliberation, and that's exactly what she did. She tried to take her mother's life in March of 2011, and again on June 14th of 2011, before she even met Nick, a whole year plus before she ever even met Nick, and a whole 4 years before, Nick was her co-conspirator and her accessory to her murder. She is the sole reason why this murder happened. However, the pair separated 3 months after her prison release, with Gypsy Rose reconnecting with her ex-fiancé Ken Urker shortly after. No, she had been talking to him already and plotting this. As TMZ previously reported, Gypsy Rose and Ryan were having issues prior to the separation. The duo got into a heated fight about Ryan Anderson's food hoarding. That's bullshit, because from my understanding, did he not have a lap band or a gastric bypass? My uncle had that 10 years before he passed away in 2013, and I'll tell you right now, my uncle was pushing 450 pounds, and he was literally 6'4". He was a big guy. My uncle, after having that surgery, would put his food, his takeout boxes and stuff in the fridge, and he had to start buying in smaller portions because he could only eat so much at a time. The first 6 months after he had the surgery, he could only have gelatin and liquids among his medications, so that to me sounds suspicious. Her friendship with Ken being a sore spot for Ryan Anderson, of course, because their entirety of their relationship, she kept using Ken as an excuse to break up with Ryan. She created that by manipulating him.
If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to fucking kill me!
Gypsy had taken shows her walking through her mother's bedroom. Yep. She points at the motion with her hand. That was a very hard pill to swallow.
I think my son, Nicholas, when it comes to mind, is I'm lost. I can't believe what happened, and just dumbfounded, and I actually don't know how to feel anymore because of it. My mind's been rewired to think differently now. It's hard. Everything's hard. My son, Nick, his side of the story told, and because her side is getting all this attention left and right, and he didn't get nothing. I believe Gypsy was just using him. She may have had a slight feelings for him, but when she got him in, reeled him in to her plan, and she pretty much started losing interest in him until after the deed was done, and then boom, threw him under the bus. I felt compassion because of what her mother did to her, but and in retrospect, what she learned all those traits from her mom and turned around and used them on my son, and to get out of her situation. All the press and everything that was being focused on this case, it just made me become more of a hermit. I didn't want to leave the house. Afraid somebody's going to notice me and, hey, you're a GODEJOHN or whatever. Is that your son? I didn't want to deal with any questions. This birthday card I received from my son on my last birthday is on your birthday and always wishing you a very happy birthday. It's a happy birthday, Dad. How old are you now? 51? Yeah, that sounds correct. 51. Well, happy 51st birthday. Remember, it's just a number. If you feel you're young, then you are. I wish I could spend your birthdays with you. God willing, maybe I'll still get that chance in another birthday. I know it's hard being this far away. Please be strong. Thank you for being my father, my best friend, and teacher. I'm blessed to have you as a father. It's you who taught me all these noble traits, and I'm grateful for it. I love and miss you wholeheartedly. Until we talk again, your son, truly, Nicholas Paul GODEJOHN.
It got a lot of attention, as she did, and she just kept on getting more and more attention. I felt that it's been tipped in one side of a scale to where I really wasn't getting much coverage. I wasn't being able to actually be able to voice my opinion. I wasn't able to let everyone know what I truly feel. I just know that she knows. She knows that I've taken the responsibility for mine already. I still have feelings for her. Of course, I will always have feelings for her. But every human being needs to grow and learn from their mistakes. And I feel that's where me and her both are right now. We're learning from this mistake that we've both made. I mean, the way she was raised, no woman should ever, no child for that matter, should ever have to be raised that way. I did feel that she was not taking responsibility for her actions, but at the same time, due to the way I know she was raised, I can't blame her. I can't. That, and along with my religion, with being a Christian, I know I'm not supposed to judge, so I'm not going to judge.
And both Gypsy Blanchard and Nicholas GODEJOHN got sentences that they deserved. It was the same crime by two very, very different people that came from two very, very different perspectives.
Wrong. Don't agree. Absolutely. The incarceration, legal system, court system, all fucking failed. Terribly. It doesn't matter what somebody's perspective is when they commit a crime. A crime is a crime is a crime. When you talk about homicide, it doesn't matter if somebody thought that was their only option. It wasn't. And that person knew the difference between right and wrong and still chose wrong. You know how she tells you she knew she was choosing wrong? Because people that don't know to hide it. And that's exactly what Gypsy did. She was hiding the phone, the text messages, the messages on the other apps and dating websites that she was utilizing with Nick. That's why she was being secretive, because she knew she was doing something wrong. Doesn't matter what that person's perspective is. The sentencing did not reflect what it should have. Period. Point blank. 89% of the entire global population of 8 billion people suffer at least once in their lifetime a trauma, a sexual abuse, some kind of physical, mental, emotional abuse, PTSD, a traumatic, life-altering event, or something physically that literally could be constituted as abuse or neglect in some way, shape, or form. 89% of 8 billion people globally don't go around just murdering somebody because their perspective is they had no other way out. That's fucking ridiculous, and that is a pathetic fucking excuse. And with all of the things that we've worked so diligently for over a year to debunk and to prove with Gypsy's own words, actions, choices, and behaviors, to show people that the way she grew up and the way that she's telling the media that she grew up, even Nick himself at the time that he did that interview was believing what the media was saying. Didn't take into consideration that the media is being told lies and they're publishing lies. They're not fact checking and verifying and corroborating what is the truth and what is not. And that's where Gypsy Rose herself has fucked herself, because she talks too much, wanting to make more money, more money, more money, more books, more shows, more interviews, more books, more shows, more interviews, podcasts, all of that. But the more she talks, the more she contradicts herself. You know what they say? Truth tellers tell. Liars sell. That's why there's always a different version, because it's a lie. The truth is always the truth, no matter what, even with age. You may not be able to remember certain little details, but you always remember the truth. Truth tellers tell, liars sell. They try to sell you and convince you with all this word salad, fluff, and filler. and a bunch of vocal disfluencies, which is technically a speech impediment, like man, y'all, and like yeah, that. But the most heinous and disgusting thing of all is Gypsy Rose going on the interview. And if you want to watch the interview she did with Cal Lowry, it is in full because I purchased it. It is in full on my YouTube channel, straight out of context. You can feel free to go clip it as long as you credit me because I did purchase it by fair use and law. I'm allowed to post it, and I'm allowed to share it with whoever may want to take bits and pieces or watch it and may need any of those little clips. But the most heinous thing of all that she discusses in the book and in that interview specifically is speaking about Nicholas GODEJOHN's mother. And I'm not even going to get into that, and I'm not going to talk about it because it's disgusting and it's fucking disturbing that she caused all of this, and the repercussions and the ripple effect from her actions, her choices, her words, her behaviors, and her crime, and dragging somebody with autism into it, making him believe that she was his soulmate and it was this magical time and this once-in-a-lifetime thing, and that he really did have, for once, a connection with a female and a love and a spiritual connection there when she did not feel that way. She was using him as means to an end. It's disturbing. It's grotesque. It's pathetic. And then she goes on to actually talk about Nicholas's mother, which I would never do. Other than people have shared her obituary, and where you can go on Legacy and share a candle or flowers or write condolences, that's it. But talking about it is absolutely heinous.
She's a beast. Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Barbara Ann and welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. We're going to dive right into this mess. 3 days ago, Gypsy Rose Blanchard held a book signing event at a bookstore in New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, that was Friday, December 13th, 2024. Now, you all know that December 13th, Friday the 13th, was Taylor Swift's birthday. We all know how much Gypsy Rose Blanchard loves and idolizes and worships Taylor Swift and her music. She accredits it to the whole reason why she even survived and got through her incarceration days, which, if you do not know, was nearly 8 years. But I'm going to put this all into context for you so you can understand exactly what went down and what happened. And I'm going to do it quickly.
Setting a great example.
Thank you.
And, you know, just moving forward, there is an opportunity with this book signing today for people to get out and meet you. I know you wanted to talk a bit about that.
Yes, so I will be at a meet and greet, so people can come take selfies with me and get a copy of my book at the Garden District, Garden District bookstore.
Now, this is when some content creators decided they were going to hold a vigil for Dee Dee Blanchard. Now, they forgot about the other unintentional victims of this crime, but this was supposed to be for her mother in protest at her book signing event, since this book was largely about her crime, about her life with her mother, and about her lies, her inconsistencies, and her heinous description of what really happened, in her own words. Of course, her public defender, Mike Stanfield, turned manager, was also there. Now, please tell me that that is not a conflict of interest and he should not have recused himself from being associated or affiliated with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. That is absolutely beyond me, but there is something very wrong with this man right here. He has got to be as dirty as they come. So as you can see, there were people that were live streaming this event and they were kicked out. Now, this person actually paid for a ticket. Now, I don't know if they were reimbursed. It was said that they had been, but they were not allowed to be on the premises, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me, because all them other strangers that she had there at the book signing, did she actually know if any of those people posed a threat to her high-risk pregnancy or to her physical safety or to anybody else? No, she didn't. But she saw somebody that was a known creator and decided that she was going to take action. Because it is not above Gypsy Rose Blanchard to pull all of her strings and her notoriety and her celebrity and use all the security available to her. And as you can see, this is Brianna Hines, Bree with the facts, or says Bree. Now, this is where things get really kind of hectic because Fancy Maselli from Good Wives Network had a live panel with Katie Joy Paulson from Without a Crystal Ball. Now, that right there is controversial in and of itself. However, they had a point to make, and they did. It was all about how this was unorganized, it was a mess, it was not well thought out, that anybody that had their name affiliated or tied or attached to this, absolutely it was going to blow back on them in a horrible way, because not only was it unorganized, it seemed like only one man with a sign actually showed up with the intention of holding a vigil for Dee Dee Blanchard. And that the Lifetime cameras were there intentionally filming Gypsy Rose Blanchard's second season of her reality show, Life After Lockup, if not entitled Love After Lockup. This is that one man. Now, there was another creator from TikTok who is from the Bayou area who has been very vocal about Gypsy and the drama that has surrounded her, and she shows up. But she shows up peacefully and quietly. Allegedly, on her way back home, she stopped by the police, yanked out of the car, handcuffed, put in the back of a cop car, and had her entire car searched. This is Bree, says Bree, or Bree with the facts, with another person who is a pro-Gypsy supporter with Lifetime cameras and security coming outside of this book signing event where the line had been wrapped around and likely getting herself involved in shit that she should not be involved in, like she always does, like stalking, harassing, doxing, threatening, trying to make homeless people and their kids and calling law enforcement on them because they make things about Gypsy or are just anti-crime creators. Now, this here is the interesting part because Dee Dee Blanchard's own two sisters have been vocal in the comments section on TikTok for multiple creators. Now, I know a lot of people have seen this one and this one, but I'm about to show you another that is actually on the creator who showed up very peacefully and quietly to pay her respects to Dee Dee Blanchard and her life and what her daughter is doing to her after death, re-victimizing her a second time. This is what she says to her, and that creator is Ivory Rose Grows Wild. Now, this is especially important because of the fact that she not only took her mother's life, she also has destroyed her a second time in death.
It was something that even my mother's side of the family definitely encouraged and approved of. I know they weren't very supportive of a lot of the documentaries and everything, but they always felt support for me.
As you can see right here with her own words, Gypsy Rose Blanchard lies. She lies and lies and lies and continues to lie. But all of those books and those trees that died to make the paper for those books is a part of the problem, because she's using her crime and her life with her mother and twisting the truth to fit this I'm a survivor, I'm the victim turned victor, it's my time to stand narrative to benefit herself monetarily and capitalize off of it all. And it is disgusting, it is heinous, and it is so far from the truth. And people that are called anti-Gypsy content creators are really just people that are anti-crime, pro-justice, pro-fairness, pro-due diligence, pro-due process, are pro-basic human civil constitutional rights, and are pro-fairness in having a trial, whether that be civil or criminal. If there's one thing Gypsy knows how to do, it is to lie. It is to turn a story and make it look like something it is not. It is to bend the truth, to grift, to con, to scam, to self-preserve and self-benefit. So while there may be a lot of polarization in opinions and differences here regarding what happened at this book signing, I believe that a lot of these creators are missing the entire point and principle of it all. Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her life and her crime, her actions, her words, her choices and behaviors today, now, still have a lasting negative effect on more than just her mother, more than just her mother's family. You have got to remember Nicholas GODEJOHN. Remember his father, his stepfather, his mother, his brother, his family. Also remember that Gypsy Rose Blanchard made a victim out of her ex-husband, Ryan Anderson, and every friend that she has had and has essentially broken up with every child that doesn't have a voice because they died because of their abuser, doesn't have somebody in the limelight and in the mainstream media actually speaking and advocating on their behalf. Because she's not a real victim. She is a liar, she is a grifter, and she is doing exactly what her and her mother always did. But she's doing it on a mainstream scale and level. The only difference is she is now benefiting from it financially. The only thing I'm sad about is that this didn't turn out better considering Gypsy herself had lifetime cameras.
And put it in your phone. Like, this is just how we do it. The moment in time that brings us together that we love doing, and we've just done it this way forever. I'll show you my vision board from last year because I promised you guys I would. This is what a done vision board looks like. As I wanted, the power of my story. I wanted own your morning. I wanted to travel. I wanted to stretch more, which I didn't do and I need to do. But, I wanted to focus a little bit more on myself because I was overworking myself last year. Eating healthy, working out, and stuff like that. So I put all of this on the front. And then on the back, I wrote my 2024 goals. I'm going to show you guys all of my stuff because some of it's really personal. But I'll show you the beginning. I did do better with going to church and spirituality, which I do every Sunday. I take a me day and I listen to Joyce Myers. I wanted to build more muscle. I'm actually doing that right now. So I made that come true. I wanted to stretch more. I need to do that because the bitch is not limber. To learn an instrument, I just did not have time, and I wanted to finish my veneers, which I did on my top row. I need to finish the ones on the bottom. Travel out of the country. We're actually going to be doing that top of the year, so I'm excited for that. Buy a new property in Vegas. We actually sold ours. Continue to build Patreon, which I did. We have over 230,000 subs over there.
For those of you who do not know who that is speaking, that is Bunny XO. That is the wife of Jelly Roll. That is Jason Bradley DeFord and Alyssa DeFord. I just gotta say one thing. Her doing her vision board thing with her kids and her stepkids, whatever, it is what it is. But it's the whole, oh, look at me being creative and inspirational, and all of these mommies should be following my lead and my example. And go and buy $500 worth of the magazines, boards, craft supplies right before Christmas, knowing that that's not even a reality for almost everybody that's out here, single or not single, working paycheck to paycheck, People like me who've struggled for 6.5 years to get our disability with our attorney after having stage 3 cervical cancer and surviving it. Yeah, it's tone deaf as fuck. It's giving cringe as fuck. It's giving, well, now I understand why you're friends with this fucking McGremlin. Yeah, if you didn't know this, Bunny XO and Gypsy Rose Blanchard have been friends, as in they text each other all the time. Bunny XO has been manipulating Gypsy, and Gypsy's been letting her do it because Gypsy is ultimately the manipulator, who is keeping a bigger celebrity in her pocket, just in case. Since she's been released, because Bunny XO wanted her to come on her podcast, and she wanted to be the one she gives the exclusive interview to. Too bad that didn't play out. But did you know that they still talk? They still text each other quite a bit. The funny thing is that she shows her goals, and it's also like, oh, I gotta go to church more, I gotta be more spiritual, I gotta spend more time on me, I gotta spend more time on my physical appearance, building muscle, I gotta eat healthier, I gotta get all of my $100,000 veneers redone for a second time. We want a new property in Vegas, but we already sold our property in Vegas. Oh, these ones are personal because it has to do with paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for IVF to have another baby because she doesn't want to ruin her body having another natural baby. Whatever the case may be. That's fine, but that's also tone deaf as fuck because people like me, we didn't get a choice when cancer ravaged my body and took so much from me surgically. I didn't get a choice when my ex-husband has spent the last 13 years in and out of prison because he was shooting. Didn't have a choice that he up and abandoned us. I had to make the choice to take my kids, all 5 of them, and leave. And that is how I got away from that kind of situation. But you know what? It's impacted my ability because I cannot do it all. The same way you cannot do it all. The same way the next person over here cannot do it all. The expectation and the weight and the burden that is put on women is absolutely atrocious and heinous. Because if I'm not home cooking and cleaning and doing everything that a mother should be doing, then oh my God, I'm a failure. If I'm at work busting my ass at minimum wage, trying to make enough money to cover my monthly bills, I'm a bad mom because I'm not fucking there. You know what? Shove it up your ass, because you're the one who was lucky enough to get with this guy knowing that he was already a locally successful musician, that he was likely going to break it big, and he had been making contacts by the time you married him, and that he was probably going to be able to afford to do all that stuff for you and give you a leg up in the world. See all these D-rate celebrities that have these podcasts and shit, a lot of them now haven't earned their subscribers or followers. They've gotten them on somebody else's fame or an association by somebody else's fame. But it's just tone deaf. It is tone deaf as fuck, because somebody like me can't just go and get veneers or just go buy a home, let alone sell homes and then dream about getting bigger ones in multiple cities. That is just so absolutely crazy to me. And she shows the kids holding up their vision board from last year, but all she does is literally go over hers and all about her, all about her. You know what? God doesn't work that way. God gives to the selfless, not the selfish. And there's a really deeply broken relationship with God. I have my love in my relationship with God. I know that I don't deserve everything. You don't deserve everything just because you're married to somebody who's making more money. His work ethic should not be making him millions when our work ethic out here in the fucking real world earns us barely minimum wage. And that's if you're able to even work. Some people like me can't. And not only that, but to have that solely because of your husband, solely because of your spouse. All right, Bunny, unless you're going to go and find me a husband that makes a decent living and is going to do the same for me, and you're going to help other women, then shut up with your fucking tone deaf ass motherfucking ways and your bullshit with fucking Gypsy, because you have no idea what the fucking criminal justice system, what drugs, what all of that shit does on the flip side to victims. to wives, to innocent children, to family members. Has no idea. And we're not left to just pick up the fucking pieces. We're left with the broken pieces and shards cutting us forever. And we can never do anything with that. And then we're told, fuck you, when you're not successful. Because our idea and definition of success is not fucking a goddamn musician and conning him into marrying us so I can get veneers, so I can get IVF, so I can get a surrogate, so I can have all of this done, so I can go over here and play pretty with my pretend podcast and be with one of the cool kids. Fuck you and fuck all the goddamn people who want to be a cool kid. That is so fucking tone deaf and far from reality. That's all I gotta say. But the biggest piece for me is the fact that she had tried so hard to get Gypsy in the first 3 months of 2024 to give her that exclusive interview, and she didn't do it. And you guys all remember how she was talking to Wade Wilson and he gave her phone number out to 4 different people because she thought he was gonna give her an exclusive interview. Yeah, he was like, bitch, I'm sorry, but I can get a Barbie that looks just like you. It doesn't take nothing for somebody to bleach their hair blonde and go pay for veneers if you're a man enough to afford to pay for them, right? Yeah, that was kind of funny because she thought she was going to be more intelligent than a fucking narcissistic serial killer. Well, let's see how your friendship with Gypsy Rose Blanchard plays out, because she's a fucking manipulator and a liar and a narcissist, and she's only using you because you have a better reputation with your association to your husband than she does for murdering her mom, which is also tone deaf because many people out here don't get to murder their abuser and don't get to murder their mother, and they do right by God and they do right by his laws and his commandments, and they live a righteous life. And they not only live a righteous life, but they end up goddamn adhering to that no matter what they have to suffer or sacrifice. She also told Gypsy Rose that anytime she wanted to see Jelly Roll, she's been telling her this for a year. Anytime she wanted to see Jelly Roll, she has her, girl. That's literally what she texted her, is, I got you, girl. Anytime you want to go to the concert or where he's playing nearby, I got you. So you know about all the controversy that's surrounded Jeanette M. Braun and how she was retained and hired by Bunny XO to sue people that had been cyberbullying her, saying negative things about her, like she's a liar and all this stuff. That's Jeanette M. Braun. She was nice enough to give that attorney to Gypsy, who was nice enough to give it to somebody else to sue me and another large anti-Gypsy creator.
She's not pregnant, for everybody who keeps asking.
No, I'm on
She's
birth
not
control.
pregnant.
Like, what the hell?
And we have not had any intimacy. We're just hanging out. We're just total friends.
I missed my period, and I didn't think anything of it because I had seen my OBGYN, and I had tested my fertility.
She's not pregnant, for everybody who keeps asking.
No, I'm on
She's
birth
not
control.
pregnant.
Like, what the hell?
Let's talk about Mia Blanchard, the half-sister of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Yes, I know I already talked about this yesterday in a video, and I already said congratulations, but I just want to say, look at how adorable she looks. She is a weird mix between adorable and beautiful. I can see why Gypsy is jealous of her. I mean, other than the fact that Dad chose to raise her and be in her life and be in Dylan's life and not Nicolette or Gypsy's life. But hey, that's all on him, not her. That's not her fault. But you look at her celebrating graduating with her boyfriend, mom, dad, grandma, friends. You don't see Gypsy dulling her shine. So she's done. She's got her degree. And that's amazing. That absolutely should be celebrated far and wide. That should be what gets somebody notoriety, fame, doing the right thing, being a hard worker, doing all of the things that you want to do in life as an able-bodied person. That's amazing. That is fantastic. And I hope that her future and career is as amazing and as bright as she makes it and wants it to be. But for a second, I just want to share these photos. Because it was wonderful of you to share them on your Instagram, Mia. The irony is not lost on me, the fact that a Blanchard sibling or half sibling goes on to work in the medical field when they have a half sister who claims to be abused because of the medical field. You can't make that up. But you know what can be made up? Stories. But this is a true story. This is a good story. This is a positive story. This is one that should give you all of the accolades, all of the attention, all of the press, the fame, the notoriety, the congratulations, the love. But rarely does it ever work that way. But let's talk about the fact that if these two get married, they're going to have the most beautiful kids, and it's just going to be another reason for her half-sibling to be extremely jealous, because if they end up having a little boy and 2 girls, they're going to be the cutest mother effers you've probably ever seen. Because these two would produce gorgeous children. Like, better looking than they are. Separate or as a couple. They're just so cute as a couple. You can see it. You could see the vibe. You could feel it permeating from these vibrant, saturated photos. So I absolutely love this for Mia. Being with her better half, finishing and getting her degree, starting her forever life and her career. So congratulations, Mia. The world is your oyster. Devour it slowly and savor every taste.
And I told him, absolutely not. I am not okay with that. And he said, it's either Victor's way or the highway. Like, Victor won't do it if you don't agree to my terms. So I said, fine, use the knife, but you are not raping her. He's like,
ignore my washer and dryer in the background, and yes, I am on day 5 of the flu, and yes, I still feel like shit. Yes, it takes longer than a day to get better. Now, bullshit ass lie, calling it out.
Evidence, a knife.
Let's go over that.
And States Exhibit 145. Did Nick have a knife that was used in the murder?
I supplied the knife.
Where did you get the knife?
I stole it from Walmart.
And why did you steal it from Walmart?
Because I didn't see a knife that was
She didn't want the knife to come from inside the home because it would lead back to her.
There was also some gloves that have been introduced into evidence.
Yes.
Where did Nick get the gloves?
I supplied them.
And where did you get the gloves?
They were already in our house.
How did Nick know when to do this crime? Time-wise, that morning?
I told him.
Who planned this murder?
I did.
Did Nick do any of the planning in this murder?
He may have had.
Like I said, you can watch her in real time as she lied. At that exact moment as it was happening. You can go back and you can watch it in real time as she's lying. And she continues to do exactly that. She supplied the knife. She came up with the idea. She stole it. She didn't want to be seen on security footage buying the knife or have receipt or a paper trail leading back to her getting the knife.
She didn't want it to come from inside the home because then it would lead back to her. Gypsy is not stupid. Now, you know what they say. There is no such thing as a smart criminal. But she's not that dumb. That she didn't try attempted murder on her mother twice before, in March of 2011 and June 14th of 2011. That she didn't have a whole year and a half before she ever even met Nick to think about how to get rid of her mother. And the reasoning for getting rid of her mother. She always intended on making it look like some stranger came in and did this to her mom. Which flies the abuse excuse right out the window then. Because if it's self-defense because of abuse, you wouldn't be hiding things and trying to make it look like somebody else did it, framing them, forensically speaking. So let's go over one more time for the people in the back that just skated right over the glaringly obvious.
The weapon would be?
Had you discussed alternative methods of killing your mother?
Yes.
What other alternatives had you considered?
Poison, arson, a gun.
Why did you not consider
Poison and a
poison?
gun she already tried on her own.
It was too hard to find an odorless, tasteless poison.
Why didn't you kill your mother?
I didn't believe I could do it.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
I don't like blood. I don't like the sight of blood.
Who said it had to be bloody?
I'm squeamish, so I just honestly didn't believe I could do it on my own.
Wrong again, Gypsy. You know that you tried poisoning. You tried a firearm. You tried back in March of 2011 and June 14th of 2011. And yes, you knew that that wasn't going to work because you had already tried it. So your next plan was to frame somebody to do it for you and to make it look like an outsider came and did that, kidnapped you, and you were free to go live your life. You framed Nick. You pretended to be him. You made sure nothing led back to you. The only thing is you didn't realize that there's always a digital footprint. Even when you delete things, there's always going to be some kind of digital footprint on the servers of websites and apps and your location services. Nobody can convince me that she did not want it to be painful and messy and long, because she had something at her disposal that could have done it very peacefully, quietly, painlessly. It would have been colorless, odorless, and her mother would not have had to suffer that kind of way or have that kind of trauma to her body. This tells me, knowing that her mom was a diabetic and had insulin at her disposal, that Gypsy herself was trying to make it look like an outsider deviant came in, a degenerate came in and did this and was probably responsible for why she was just poof, gone, missing, and that they would never look for her and would never be none the wiser.
It's running away. That is.
Did you have other alternative plans other than killing your mother?
Yes.
How many plans altogether did you have?
3.
Okay. Did you have names for those plans?
Yes.
What were the names?
Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C.
And could you tell us about the other 2 possibilities other than killing your mother?
Yes. Plan A, we already had tried that, which was to meet up at the movie theater, act like we never met before, and try and start a relationship from there, with my mother's permission.
What was the other alternative plan?
Another one was for me to get pregnant. I believed that since he would be the father, he would have to be in my life. Being a missing person.
Now, there was a Facebook post made about this case. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where that Facebook post was made, on whose account?
Yes, sir.
Whose account?
My mother's.
What did the Facebook post say? If you can recall exactly, or close to it.
That bitch is dead.
Was there a comment in the post as well about the daughter?
Yes, sir.
What was that comment?
I don't remember exactly how it was worded.
Listen.
Was it
Something to the fact of, I raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her laugh was so fucking loud.
Who made that post?
I did.
Did you make that post pretending to be somebody else?
This is what we call a Freudian slip. This is when the cognitive load becomes so massive when trying to tell a lie or a mistruth. And that is what is happening with Gypsy. We see this all the time with her when she's trying to lie or omit a lie, and she's trying to really keep up with telling it from a perspective, telling it from a different perspective that's not hers, or different from the truth of what she really experienced. And that happens when she says on the stand about that second post, or that second comment on this post, how she's trying to make it sound like it's from Nick's perspective. But she says that, you know, that she slashed that FATPIG and R-worded her sweet innocent daughter. Her laugh was so freaking loud. That's because that's what she really did. Her subconscious in that Freudian slip is telling the truth of what actually occurred. She was laughing, and it's not laugh. It's supposed to be scream. So she's very telling in that sense that she cannot even keep up with her own lies and her own omission of the truth, which is a form of lying. So we see that here, but one of the most concerning parts for me is where she talks about plan A, B, C, D, whatever it is, and how A and B didn't work. Well, A, B, D, and E had absolutely nothing to do with saving her from abuse that she became growingly desperate to get away from. And on the stand, he specifically asks her about that. And she says it's because the physical stuff got more. The starvation got more. She didn't say anything about a possible throat surgery. And when that throat surgery happened and her two attempted unalivings of her mother occurred, that was in March and June 14th of 2011. This is a whole year and a half before she ever meets Nick. So she's also trying to not tell you the truth that she had two attempted unalivings of her mom herself, and that two of those poisoning firearm were not successful. She had to think of a different option.
Since she had warned me that she's tried it twice before, and she's only mentioned one of those times in the media. The other, apparently she almost got close to killing her mother, but however, she couldn't do it. She was attempting to do it mainly.
And that's when I grabbed the gun and I threatened her with it. And before I knew it, I pulled the trigger as many times as I could.
He did go in and get medical care. The records show that she lied about it.
Something like, this is your chance to write your own story. You're the pen, and I won't know anything until you tell me what happened. Why did you do this? I didn't. I cried. I didn't. I was lying, but I was telling the truth.
You did. This is precisely why Gypsy Rose Blanchard is so infuriating to so many people, and why so many people have become content creators or started really becoming true crime sleuths, or started getting into justice reform, or started making their own content. Because people, good, decent people, couldn't sit by and watch a convicted murderer lie and lie and profit off those lies and trying to sell them to you for her own financial benefit, while she gets to lay down in a bed all day long doing nothing, completely able-bodied, after taking somebody's life and feeling entitled to taking that life. She then feels entitled to destroy any memory or legacy after having taken that life. That's not just murdering once, that's murdering twice. Merry Christmas, everybody. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has wiped her entire YouTube channel. That's right. You heard me correctly. She has wiped everything, all her videos and her shorts, which was only like 3 of them, off of her channel with 71.2K subscribers. Took down the photo, the cover art, all of it, and left this. You know what this means? everybody's Christmas wish will come true. That she may just permanently delete it because she's done. She's canceled. This convicted murderer is off social media. But does it really mean that? No. It means that she's going through a phase where she's waiting and trying to patiently buy time because she doesn't want to get rid of those subscribers. She does give an F about a following. In fact, she gives a little too much of an F about the following because that's the only monetization and capitalization of any kind of money maker is that following. Without that or the 9.9 million that follow her on TikTok, Gypsy Rose wouldn't be getting shows with Lifetime or HBO or anything else for that matter. Now, this is funny that this was actually created January 31st of 2024 because Gypsy Rose didn't actually make and create her first video until she announced her pregnancy months later. See how that works? Yeah, this was already set up to be her moneymaker and to be her channel. And I don't believe or buy any of this BS. Look at me. She's spiraling out of control. Bullshit. I'm going to get your attention because I'm going to leave and come back and leave and come back. And that whole, I'm being bullied, I got to leave the internet just to not permanently delete it. It's telling me that she can't let go of those followers. And I don't know why. That is oddly sounds very familiar to me. I don't know. Do you guys know anybody else that likes to do that? Addicted to social media and can't let it go? I don't know. There's a lot of people out there that are like that, where social media is actually a problem. And they talk about the youth. Everybody I know that has a problem with this little box right here and all of this digital bullshit on this little box right here tends to be people in their 30s or older. And they're usually female. But let's go look over at Facebook, right? Because she has changed and made multiple Facebook accounts, so nobody knows what's real. But this is hilarious on this one, because look at what people are commenting. Hilarious. This, somebody actually posted a close-up of Dee Dee from the crime scene photos. And of course, this is from this account, which has 37,000 followers on it. I don't think that this is Gypsy. In fact, I don't think any of these right here, I don't think any of these are really her. But of course, she does still have the TikTok and she does still have the Instagram, as you can see. But it's funny to me that she's not permanently deleting anything. That means that she can't let it go, that she can't get rid of it, because you still have 30 days where you cannot log back in before it's permanently deleted. So the fact that she's just wiping it clean to make it look like she's leaving tells me that she's trying to build suspense. So when she does come back, the first videos or shorts that she posts is going to get the maximum amount of viewership, therefore revenue. Therefore, she's not going to let it go. She's not going to permanently delete it. And I would actually dare her to, because this Christmas, I'm sure so many people, I can speak collectively for a lot of us when we say that we would want nothing more than for Gypsy Rose to get rid of all of these public accounts and permanently delete them all, and whatever social media she has do under a completely different face and name, and she can have her social media that she wants to be normal. Because Gypsy Rose had an addiction to all of the dating websites and to Facebook and to several other websites before she committed this crime in 2015. And she had a problem with it then. She had a problem with it back in 2011 as well, in 2012, in 2013, 2014, 2015. Her problem was that she couldn't understand why her mom wouldn't just let her meet strange men off the internet. Especially knowing that so many of the people that are on those sites are actual felons or have been convicted of some kind of crime, misdemeanor, felony, which way or another, and so many of them are SOs. But Gypsy will never come out and tell you the flat out truth. that her mom was trying to protect her and was trying to protect other people from Gypsy, because Gypsy's behavior was so erratic and impulsive that it was a danger to herself and to others. Going out there and meeting somebody that you have only been talking to for not even 4 days on the internet is not you knowing somebody at all. And Gypsy has proven that time and time and time again. She talked to Nick for almost 3 years through Facebook, through text, through ChristianDatingForFree.com. And she still never in all those years got an actual sense of who and what he really is in real life and how he lived day to day. Because she talks very candidly in her book about how she realized he didn't shower every day, that him having autism and his mental disabilities, that he had sheets of a child, that he had video games like a child, not a grown man, that he was doing things that was very much not age appropriate, and she had no idea. That right there tells you that 3 years of talking to somebody all day long, 365 days a year for years, is so impersonal, because you're not actually knowing that person. To get to know somebody, you need to know their personality, their traits, their habits, not just what they're telling you in words. That's the least way to get to know somebody. You have to get to know them by how they behave in real life, their routines, their choices, the way they live, the way they operate. And you cannot do that. Clearly, Gypsy had talked to Nicholas GODEJOHN for almost 3 years and still had no idea of how much autism and his mental disability played a role in his everyday life. No idea. So I think that everybody, including myself, when we think that Dee Dee was trying to protect Gypsy, that she truly was trying to protect her from herself, from making bad, negative, impulsive, pessimistic choices and going after men on the internet who she had absolutely no idea who they were. The Dan situation is the same exact thing. She had no idea that he's living with other people, that he can't just leave because he's on probation, that he had committed a crime before. She had no idea if the other people she spoke to were not SOs, that other people that she spoke to were not only reaching out to her because she actually looked like a 14-year-old child. And not just any, a 14-year-old disabled child. If you ask me, she used the internet and she used social media websites and other websites in the commission of her crime. Gypsy Rose Blanchard should be like anybody else who commits identity theft or bank fraud or check fraud or unlawful use of a debit or credit card when they are told that they're not allowed to use the internet anymore and that they're not allowed to have any kind of social media pages. They should have done that with Gypsy, because the internet and social media played such a crucial role in her plan to unalive her mom and solicit a co-conspirator to help aid and abet her. She also used it as getting an accessory to her murder of her mother. Gypsy should absolutely not be on the internet. And the fact that she's utilizing the internet in the same pessimistic, negative, impulsive, erratic way for her own self-gain and benefit. And when it doesn't go her way, she throws a fit, she spirals, and then she just throws all of this, trying to get your attention, because otherwise people don't give a fuck. But I think Gypsy Rose Blanchard very much gives a fuck. And she gives a fuck too much. Because otherwise she would permanently delete these accounts, and she would do it quietly, not making a fuss about it. Maybe Christmas wishes do come true. Ken Urker was nice enough to share this Christmas photo of Rod Blanchard, Christy Blanchard himself, and Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who is literally due with their first child 4 days after my son's birthday. My son's 13th birthday. Now, even people that like to use, dispose of, and discard of real human beings with real human lives to her positive benefit and her self-satisfaction, I still don't want to put the kind of juju and karma out there in the world and say you deserve a fucked up Christmas. I hope Christmas is the best for everybody. And according to the law, it is what it is. But I don't really feel that way in regards to one person, and that is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And that is because not only did she take the life of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, she also, by proxy, took the life of Nicholas GODEJOHN, an autistic man with mental disability who was manipulated for 3 years into helping her because he believed she really was ABUSED and that it was the only option after having exhausted and tried so many other options. But also his mother tragically passed away in 2021, and that cannot be unsaid. It should be reminded to the general public and the people that are buying her books and consuming her shows with Lifetime and Ben Bella Books, Penguin House Publishers, HBO, Hulu, TMZ, Netflix. They are going to be reminded constantly that this person may dress the part and go through the motions of being reformed and having this rehabilitation in her life, but it is so far from the truth. Because everything Gypsy Rose Blanchard has told us has been a lie. And she has told her story numerous times in the last 10 years. And we caught her in so many inconsistencies and lies. But you know what they say? Truth tellers tell and liars sell. And that's what Gypsy continues to still try to do, even in the foreseeable future to 2026, is to sell you a lie, sell you a narrative that didn't exactly happen the way that she claims it does. But it's for one major motivational factor that she's doing this. It is to lessen her culpability and personal responsibility in the crime that she planned and committed. And the fact that she solicited somebody else to help her, to be her co-conspirator, to be her accessory to her unaliving of somebody. The most bothersome part is that Nicholas GODEJOHN is the only person in this whole story that truly does have integrity. He is the one that is deserving of the rehabilitation, the reformation, the help, the second chance. Because not everybody gets a second chance, even though most people deserve them. But the justice system is rarely about doing the right thing or what's fair or what's just. While they may have thought in one person's own opinions and thoughts and feelings on the case that they were giving somebody who truly was a victim at the hands of her own mother a second chance at life, they by proxy were hurting others, and they did not deserve that either, because Gypsy Rose made a victim out of him. And he doesn't get to have that second chance. He doesn't get to have the spouse, the stable home environment, the dog, the happy family, baby on the way, all of that, that freedom. He doesn't get to have that second chance. And the fact that she does not advocate for him, knowing that she doesn't have to break parole, she does not have to talk to him directly or by third party to advocate and do the right thing and tell the truth. She has done everything but that. She has put so much responsibility and culpability on him as being the sole perpetrator of this entire plan, when that is not the truth. The truth is that Gypsy Rose Blanchard tried to unalive her mother in March of 2011, and again on June 14th of 2011, herself, a whole year and a year and a half before she ever even met Nicholas GODEJOHN online. And while she thinks it's funny and it's all about her and she gets to clap back, she gets to write books and completely defame people that are not able to defend themselves. And that to me is the most concerning, because the only person that is here that could talk, that could actually tell some of the secrets, is her ex-husband, her now ex-husband, Ryan Anderson. And she has done everything to try to placate him and keep him in a position where he will not be the type of person who spills all, who kisses and tells, who goes and makes money telling what he knows about Gypsy Rose and what he has learned through his relationship and marriage with her. But where Gypsy Rose Blanchard finds these loyal men who absolutely are still committed to her and are still loyal to her when she has done nothing but been unfaithful and disloyal to them is beyond me. Because a lot of really good, righteous, God-fearing, amazing, beautiful, talented women are out here in the world single. And the baggage of being a single mom or the baggage of being disabled is something that can't even elicit them to find one single good person to have as a spouse or a husband. Yet Gypsy Rose finds dozens of them. I don't think anybody owes her anything at all. But the fact is, it's not going to be much longer till Ken Urker is one of those people too. And I don't know if he has it in him to be the type that's going to be loyal and shuts up and doesn't ever monetize what he knows about Gypsy Rose Blanchard. However, it's disturbing to me that GODEJOHN Blanchard is not here to defend herself. Nicholas GODEJOHN is in prison and has very limited negative resources that he can even utilize in a positive way. And she knows that. He can't get mainstream media and book publishers the way that she can while he's incarcerated for life. Nicholas's mother is no longer here to be able to speak her truth or the negative lasting effects as a victim impact of Gypsy's actions, words, choices, and behaviors in her life. Ryan Anderson is now divorced from Gypsy because she divorced him. And I really doubt that with the way that he still is so blind over Gypsy, that he would ever come out and actually say anything negative or damaging to her reputation. Not on purpose and not with malice or ill intent. So when we look at all of the totality collectively over Gypsy's book, My Time to Stand, and look at anywhere from even before she committed the crime that she did, all of the people that were bad and were doing things to her are all people that cannot defend themselves, that they cannot speak out and say the truth. And I don't find that a coincidence. 1 is a coincidence. 5, no. That's where you have to stop looking outward and start looking in the mirror and say, who's really the problem here? And the problem is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And there are content creators who have been around for months like me. I made my first video in early November of 2023 with a clip of the upcoming trailer that aired on January 5th of 2024 for Lifetime's Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And I take a bit and piece from Nicholas GODEJOHN's trial where Gypsy Rose Blanchard testified under penalty of perjury and testified under oath, where she said 2 completely different things. And then her mouthing something to her dad and mouthing something to her lawyer. And you very clearly can say that she's saying, no, Nick never R-worded her. But the whole walking lie. She goes on to say in the clip for the trailer that Dan was the first person that she told she could walk. But she says something totally different at Nick's trial, that Nick was the first person she told she could walk. Both cannot simultaneously be true at the same time. They just can't. There's only one person that she first told that she could walk. But if you go back and look at the text messages between Gypsy Rose and Nick, you can clearly tell even the messages that are on Facebook and the hidden messages are very telling, because it shows that Gypsy for almost a year was still telling Nick herself, not with her mom being forceful on her, actually behind her mother's back and in secrecy. She herself was feeding to Nick that she's disabled and she's sick and she has to take all these medications she's not taking, and that she's the one that needs somebody to come save her and take care of her. But with Nick's autism and mental disability, things are not picked up on, the manipulation, the roller coaster. That is something that people like that just can't comprehend, because they're very literal in analyzing of what's in front of them and what is actually happening and real. And Gypsy Rose Blanchard is a master of lies, manipulation, and illusion. Our goal is to not let her get away with it. Hannah Berner has responded to the online criticism, and response from social media to her Netflix roast joke about Blake Lively, writing in an Instagram story post, quote, "My joke in the Netflix roast was filmed before the news of the lawsuit. To be 100% clear, I support Blake, XOXO," unquote. In comedy, timing is everything, and the time to make jokes about Blake Lively's alleged bad behavior has clearly passed, and one comedian may catch flack for a previously recorded crack. Here's the deal. Netflix Torching 2024, a roast of the year comedy special came out on Friday with well-known comics riffing on the biggest stories of the year. Hannah Berner, a former reality TV star turned stand-up comedian, decided to take aim at Lively over rumors about her difficult personality. Check out the clip. Hannah noted the word CUNT has been trending this year, adding she doesn't think Blake Lively was all that bad. The insinuation is clear. While the audience laughed at the time, it is worth noting that this was filmed earlier in the month before Blake sued her co-star, Justin Baldoni, for harassment, and allegedly he took part in a coordinated effort to destroy her reputation. Public support has swung back big time in Blake's favor, so Hannah's joke seems to be tone deaf in the present moment. We broke the story that Blake had filed a suit against Justin late last week, accusing him of some shocking conduct on the set of It Ends With Us. The lawsuit includes text messages between two public relations flacks who worked for Baldoni, scheming on how to take down Lively on social media and in published news articles in mainstream media. Baldoni's lawyers have denied all alleged wrongdoing, but his agency, WME, which stands for William Morris Endeavor, they take on only the top A-list of A-list clients. They actually had Meghan Markle, but then dropped her very quickly. Dropped Justin Baldoni almost immediately after Lively's lawsuit was filed. By the way, Berner's joke was as far from the only irrelevant crack of the night. Tim Dillon hopped on stage and played the ghost of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, so no topic was off limits. TMZ says they've reached out to Blake about Hannah's joke, and so far, no response. The peak messiness earlier this year when Blake Lively, the internet's it girl, faced a wave of backlash during the film's promo run, you would be wrong, because now it has been exposed that it all might have been a smear campaign orchestrated by none other than Justin Baldoni. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, It Ends With Us. While the internet came for Lively hard, some were already raising eyebrows at Baldoni, especially after he reportedly hired a crisis management team. Let's just say things haven't exactly smoothed out since. Blake Lively's legal complaint against Justin Baldoni explained. Blake Lively's recent legal complaint published by the New York Times has spilled some jaw-dropping allegations involving Justin Baldoni and Wayfair Studio CEO James Heath. The claims, everything from boundary violations, inappropriate comments, unwanted advances, unwanted kissing, unwanted touching, intimacy, pornography, those types of things. So it's hard to say if this is actually just Blake Lively being very troublesome and her own bad behavior and her hard to work with diva mentality being the problem, or if it's sometimes simultaneously the truth of two things, that two people that are behaving badly are coming together and can't somehow make it work because her bad behavior and his bad behavior are then clashing. We don't know. It could very much be 100% the truth, but perspective is largely never just that simple. One person's thoughts of what's inappropriate may not be another person's thoughts of what's inappropriate. What is the definition of inappropriate? What is the definition of inappropriate as far as a movie set when the movie has to do with very deep, intimate, and sometimes aggravated violent relationships between married couples? So where's there a line there? What and who is to say anything? We don't know enough yet, because this is not a lawsuit, it is a legal complaint. We don't know enough yet to know what's fact, what's not. And we do know that Blake Lively has included in that suit, because I show it in a previous video, exhibits of text messages that were subpoenaed, and they were somehow obtained through that request. Those messages are not shown in full. I can speak for anybody. Your messages between people can sometimes be a whole stack of pages long over the course of a film being made and produced. But the whole thing is, he wants to say, Justin Baldoni and his team, that these are very finely picked. Of course, his former publicist wants to say these are finely picked, out of context text messages. The thing with context is sometimes context is not needed, and that is an excuse, and that's a fallback and an explanation for things when it shouldn't be. Because sometimes things are literally just in context as they are. There is no circumstance or context that is needed to get the full entire picture. Sometimes the full entire picture is that some director is being completely inappropriate, that this actor is overplaying his boundaries. He's being inappropriate. He's making inappropriate comments and doing inappropriate things, physically being inappropriate, and sometimes it's as simple as that. Sometimes it's as simple as his reputation was on the line, so he needed to make sure hers looked worse to get the eyes off of his own. Sometimes it is a smear campaign. We see it in Hollywood all the time, and you don't even realize it, is the crazy part. But for me, this whole filing of this legal complaint is really showing the dirty underbelly of Hollywood, because it's showing the PR crisis manager. It's showing the dirty publicist. It's showing the agency, the talent agency, the manager, the production company. It's showing the film studio, the director, the actor, and all the people that can actually do harm to an actor that is on the level of Blake Lively. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say until we know more, if we ever know more, if she's at fault and it's her bad girl behavior and her I'm holier than thou, better than thou type of mentality in Hollywood, that she's this it golden girl and she's deserving of having whatever she wants whenever she wants it, or if Justin Baldoni actually did have an appropriate wrongdoing with harassment, breach of contract, and then not fixing it after she makes a formal complaint. That formal complaint could have been enough to have the retaliation against her. That's very much true. But I think a lot of times these cases, we fail to see it as it really happened, in the truth that usually is. That simultaneously two things can be true. She can be right, he can be right. Do I think it's fair that somebody's life is completely turned upside down and his career and everything he worked for eradicated based on a legal complaint and allegations? Absolutely not. What happened to our Constitution, what happened to our legal system, being innocent until proven guilty. With cancel culture, it's not that way at all. And in fact, it's kind of mind-boggling and very troublesome to me, because there is no perfect person out there. That kind of behavior is behavior that many good, decent people would never engage in the workplace, in their own production company, in their own studio, in their own acting career. They would never even dream to engage in something like that, that could be filmed, recorded, witnessed, brought as a lawsuit. So to me, it's just, we'll have to wait to find out more, and I'm going to keep covering it. However, there has largely been speculation for years, even before the filming of this movie, that Blake Lively has been very difficult on set. That's why she is not very popular among many of her former co-stars. But that's for another day, and that is a separate topic to the fact that somebody equally not as good could be doing her wrong as well. We'll just have to wait and see. Let me know what you think. Drop your comments. Gypsy Rose Blanchard had her main TikTok account with 9.8 million and declining followers hacked. And in fact, she made a statement about this earlier. And all I gotta say is she definitely gives an F about a following, and she never intended on leaving social media, and she has been lying to everybody like we've all been saying. Says Bree, or Bree with the facts, had the nerve to actually be a hypocrite, and a not very smart one at that, when she blamed me waiting for something for 6 days. Other people had already covered it, and I show it and read it and talk about it. It happened to be a post that Gypsy Rose made on Facebook, on her private family and friends only Facebook. Well, it had already been in the hands of me and many other people. It was emailed to me anonymously through somebody who is related to her. And so I waited 6 days. People had already covered it, already done videos talking about it, and how the agenda, she doesn't feel like going with Melissa Moore and Mike Stanfield and all these other people in Lifetime. Like, it's all an agenda for them, for their piece of the pie that they're trying to get from her, and that she has this fake smile at the end of the day, even though she has the power to say no. That has, what she posted had absolutely nothing to do with social media. But a couple days later, says Bree goes on to do exactly what she accused me of doing, even though I'm not the one who even took the post, and she was accusing me of doing that. If you post it on Facebook, somebody is going to screenshot it. Facebook is always going to have a copy of that, even if you delete it on their servers. If you post it on the internet, you have the intent of it being seen. And that was a pity me, boo-hoo, have sympathy for me, because my life is so hard as a public figure when I've worked 9.5 years to make myself a public figure type of post. Zero sympathy whatsoever. But then she goes on to do this, expose these private messages, Ryan hitting up Gypsy, and oh my God, everybody, he won't leave her alone. Well, guess what? The person that just hacked her TikTok account and ain't giving it back and is trying to sell it to the highest bidder. Yeah. He's going into her DMs and he's exposing everybody was right. Everybody was right. She was responding back to him and deleting the messages. That's why it does look very awkward, like there should be a conversation being had in between. Here you go, Ken. Here's your proof. Yep. And so we have no idea how much she was feeding this into Ryan and still talking to him, for him to say things like, you still have my heart. I only have eyes for you. Because she was messaging him. Now, if she deleted them on her end, she didn't obviously delete this one, because the hacker was able to get a screenshot and show everybody. Hey, y'all were right. Everybody was right. I was skeptical, but y'all were right. Absolutely right. She's as dirty as they come. To set up her ex-husband through a divorce to make herself look better. This is her whole entire MO. This is her whole modus operandi throughout, even before committing her crime, is this right here. So she wants everybody to know that that account has been hacked and it's not her, and it's for sale. But I just want to remind you of this, because karma.
And you know what? I had absolutely no trouble.
It's been a year and you still ain't gone off social media. You ain't had nothing but trouble.
One. And I have people that are like, oh my God, like, you're insane. And you know what? I had absolutely no trouble.
Yes, you did.
Or like doubts of deleting that public one. And I have people that are like, oh my God, like, you're insane for deleting that kind of a following.
She's
and
panicking.
I'm like, I could give a F about a following. Like, that's not real life.
Oh, how sweet it is to be right about. I would never wish that type of thing on my own worst enemy, and I don't even have any enemies at all. But if there's one person that I highly dislike and do not respect on this planet, it is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She cannot get those Lifetime deals without that almost 10 million following on TikTok. That is her monetization. That is her commodity. That is her being able to capitalize and get the book deals and the shows, because without that, there ain't nobody to watch, to view, to stream, to engage, to buy. And that is what they rely on. I think that God works in miraculous and mysterious ways. And everybody will get their day of judgment and will have to face their own karma and wrath. In whatever form you believe or don't believe, that's fine. But this is the universe and God speaking. That if you can't permanently delete it or do what is meant to be done with this kind of following and appreciate it, it'll be given and it will also be taken, because you're not entitled to that. And over 35% of that following is actually dead accounts that are not real people. They're either bot accounts or fake PR accounts that are set up to mass follow somebody to make a false engagement, to make it look like to real people that, wow, they're famous, they got 2 million followers. So 35% when we ran all of, because there's a whole entire thing, even though she hides her subscriber list, you can still see it. You can still get to it. And you can actually run a lot of those fake accounts. There's more fake accounts with a fake name and no picture, no likes, no engagement, no videos than there are people who do follow that account. But it's really funny to me because, I'm not exempt from having to face my own karma for my own wrongdoings, but I don't people. I don't lie to people. I don't misuse people. I don't throw them away, discard of them. In fact, quite the opposite. So I think people that have this entitlement to take somebody else's life, this entitlement that they can just dispose of a husband, this entitlement that vows mean nothing, this entitlement that they can move through God's world on this earth, treating and doing unto others however they want, but expecting something different in return. I think it is what it is, and you guys tell me, drop your comments down below, because she done been caught out. Because the first thing that happens when a hacker gets your account, they're going to change the email and change the number and change the password, and you ain't going to be able to get it back. And that would be God's ultimate way of telling her, you took a life, and while men failed to do their job and provide the appropriate justice for this case and the people in this case involved in it, God's karma is so much greater. The Casey Anthony case is one case that really gets to me and bothers me so much to this day, that they convicted her on lying, where she spent 4.5 years, but then she's let out and let off because the jury could not interpret the law appropriately. There was plenty of evidence and circumstantial evidence. Whether or not she intentionally or accidentally caused the death of her daughter, Kaylee, is irrelevant. A mother is supposed to keep her child alive. When you fall asleep on your child and they go and get in the pool and they can't swim and they end up dying because of it, that's neglect. That is first-degree felony child neglect. You're responsible for harm still in that situation. So when I think about that case, how can it get so wrong? God made her so infamous that she cannot show her face anywhere. Because if she does, she's just more hated. There's going to be someone somewhere who is going to do to her what she did to her own daughter. And that's why she has to hide. Why she has spent all these years hiding. She can't get a normal job. She can't get a normal husband, a normal boyfriend. She can't have a normal life. She can't do things out in public like a normal person. She has to disguise herself with hats and hoodies and makeup and all kinds of stuff. If she does ever go out anywhere, she has to have tinted windows, because one thing that hurts a megalomaniac and a narcissist and a psychological egoist more than just like being world famous is being world famous, but being world famous for something so evil as unaliving, deleting somebody's life and being entitled to it, and then turning around and saying, look at me, I'm so famous, I can still do whatever the I want, and I'm still entitled to do whatever the I want, and you can't do shit about it. I say society is going to put you in place, but God is going to do it even better than any human can fail to do. Because sometimes a human prison in the United States is not the worst place that a woman can be locked up in. Sometimes being physically free in the real world to go wherever you want, but not being able to do that because you are well known for deleting your own child or your own mother, is a bigger prison than you and I can ever even think.
And for narcissists, it is absolute hell because they're fragile inside.
Are you there? Are you going to talk? Do you want an after eight?
Milk tea, drink milk tea. Milk tea, just for me. Milk tea, drink milk tea. Milk tea, just for me. Hot, milk tea's hot. When I touch, nice. Milk tea's nice. When I smell, sweet. Milk tea, sweet. When I taste, hot, nice. Sweet milk tea. Touch, smell, taste. Milk tea, drink milk tea. Milk tea, just for me. Milk tea, drink milk tea. Milk tea, just for me. Hot, milk tea's hot. When I touch, nice. Milk tea's nice. When I smell, sweet. Milk tea, sweet. When I taste, hot, nice. Sweet milk tea. Touch, smell, taste.
As you all know, yesterday, Gypsy Rose Blanchard's TikTok account with 9.8 million followers was allegedly hacked. That person who hacked her account is a man named Mohammed. That is what he is claiming. He has been leaking private DMs between Gypsy Rose and her ex-husband, Ryan Anderson. But some of them were fake. He was trying to send messages to take screenshots to then use it. And he has since admitted to some of them being fake. I not only once, but twice messaged the account. And it says this: the account you are trying to contact has been suspended and may not be able to receive your message. Now, I did that for a reason, because I wanted to see if that message would pop up or not, and it did. And this message popped up the first time for me at 1:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday, which means that Gypsy and a lot of her followers may be mass reporting it, trying to get it back. But the hacker who allegedly hacked into this account still has access to it. He even changed the bio to "ended my friend, heart. I think he meant ended my mom, took the life of 2 others by proxy with my actions, words, choices, behaviors," but, lost in translation. He then goes and makes his own TikTok account under Rusty Wrist Hacker. And he was first asking for 1,000 followers. He would show everything. Now he's asking for 2,000 followers. But he posted these. And he also changed his picture on his profile to Gypsy's picture that she has on her real TikTok. But then he goes on to show these. We're not the one blacking it out. He did that. Now, yesterday, this person who allegedly hacked her TikTok went live on her TikTok multiple times, but he also joined the live panel of Ivory Rose Knows. And I have those videos on my YouTube for anybody to check out. But I also caught the live that he did for 3.5 minutes on his own account, Rusty Wrist Hacker, where he apparently had his microphone muted and had technical difficulty. So if you've been following this, there's a lot of people that do not believe that this is legit, that this is a staged publicity stunt. I think that Gypsy really did accidentally give her login information to somebody through email, text, and was trusting the wrong link or something, and somebody actually did get a hold of it, because this actually does happen all the time, and Gypsy's the type of person who would fall for something like that. But in the same breath, I also don't believe anything at all ever associated or connected to Gypsy Rose Blanchard, because we know she is a convicted murderer, and she's not only a psychological liar, she's a pathological liar. But I want to show you a really cool feature of TikTok really quick. When you go to message somebody on TikTok, you can actually customize their name, and you can put in your own nickname or your own customized name for them, and it will pop up in your messages as that name. Like when I messaged the hacker. Because he keeps playing with people. He keeps saying $200, $500. Other people, I've heard that he is trying to sell the account for over $50,000. That's what he's really trying to get up to. That it's some kind of bidding war or game, and that he's playing it up for however much money he can actually get. I don't think most of those messages are real myself, because they have already been proven by the hacker himself as not being real, that he was trying to make it look like she had more communication with people than what she was. But then he goes on to actually post a story screen recording on Gypsy's real account, showing him screen recording live the messages between her and Ryan and the real messages between her and Ken, even though down at the bottom you can clearly see that he had tried to message Ryan a couple times pretending to be Gypsy. So the biggest question here people are asking is this real, or is this a publicity stunt? There's no way of knowing for sure. I think that her account really may have been hacked, but that's just my own personal opinion. And I think that Gypsy is freaking out and spiraling and completely unhinged, because she does want that account. Now, she didn't let go of that account and permanently delete it, because she is psychologically addicted to that account, and she's just holding off to wait to see if on January 19th TikTok is banned in the United States or not. But the whole point is, and the whole principle behind all of this, is the fact that Gypsy Rose Blanchard has that kind of platform, and she has never, not one time, utilized it to a positive maximum benefit for other people, let alone herself. It goes to waste. It is wasted. And the fact that she could do tremendous amounts of advocacy, of bringing communities together, of actually pushing for real change and legislative change in multiple states, federally. The fact that she could be engaging and utilizing her platforms in such a positive way for other people, not just herself. And she would thereby, by proxy, benefit from that. It's like the whole thing with narcissists and megalomaniacs and psychological egoists. They don't ever understand that all the work and energy and time that they spend consuming and manipulating and lying and covering the lies and covering their track and covering their crimes and all of that, that it would take just a small, tiny fraction of that time and energy they put into all of that negativity to actually do the real work that it takes to actually change, to reform, to rehabilitate, to make better choices and be a better person, to live a better life, to do things selflessly for other people, to advocate, all of it. they will never realize that, because everything revolves around them and only them. And that's something that is so far out of their perspective that they cannot open their mind enough to think outside of themselves. Only empathetic, truly empathetic, compassionate, and sympathetic people can do that. And that's, to me, the most tragic part of the last year since Gypsy has been released, is that fact in and of itself. But I do think it's hilarious, and I am still going to follow it, and I am still going to keep everybody updated. And if I keep catching these lives and stories and these screen recordings, I will still put them up for people to share so people are aware of what's going on. That's all I'm doing. But I do believe out of all of those messages, there are messages between Gypsy and Ryan that are real, because everybody was right when they said after Bree exposed Ryan for hounding Gypsy and still hitting on her and trying to win her back, even though their divorce was happening in just mere weeks and going to be finalized. The fact that everybody said that message that he's writing sounds and looks weird. There's messages in between that she sent him that she deleted to then screen record or screenshot it, to then turn around and give it to Bree to expose to the whole entire interwebs and world to say, yeah, this is my ex-husband and he's hounding me. So I truly do think that some of those messages between Gypsy and Ryan and some of those messages between Gypsy and Ken are real. And he does prove that with the story he posted on Gypsy Rose's real account. Now, what's weird to me is that if this alleged hacker really did gain access of the account and lost it and gained it back, or has always had access to the account, and the account has been suspended as of 1:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time yesterday, I'm really starting to question the validity of what is really going on, and if this hacker is not somebody who's really employed by the Blanchard family or is working with Lifetime to do this, because it's drumming up attention right before she gives birth in just a couple weeks, if not sooner, and when they plan on dropping the show. So the timing seems very strategic. And you know, when it comes to PR and monetizing, when it comes to marketing and advertisements, all of it, there is no coincidence when it comes to that. And the strategies that they will pull to get negative attention to then monetize and capitalize off of that negative attention, because negative attention always gets more than positive attention. And that's just a sad reality, especially with the Western world. But I am still going to follow, and I'm still going to let y'all know, because this is wild.
Hey everybody, I really hope that you enjoy my Gypsy Rose Blanchard content from TikTok. This is compilation number 8. These are all my videos starting from October 12th of 2023 all the way to now. And don't forget to subscribe,